Commission work session. We invite you to mute yourself as we're not accepting public comment today. So this, that eliminates background in the room, please. We have, the first thing on the, oh, by the way, we welcome those of you who are here in the commission conference room today as well. So let me just do this. Won't allow me to mute. Well, Christy, if we could make sure all the participants online are muted, I'd appreciate that. Our first item for the agenda today is discussion and or action for approval of the minutes for the commission work session held on Monday, December 18th, 2023.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Most the minutes are approved. We'll now go to our first agenda item, which is a discussion regarding the subdivision ordinance process modification. Bill Kobe, Rick Grover, Sean Wilkinson, Charlie Ewert, Cortland Erickson, Liam Keogh. I'm gonna have you, Mr. Kobe, lead off on this, please.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
This is, as you know, Senate Bill 174 was passed last year in the legislative session. It governs a lot of these changes that you're seeing in front of you right now. They were prompted by state code, and this is an effort on staff's part to keep our code in conformance with state law. So you'll see on this first page, kind of a summary. This will be exactly what you'll see in your staff report. Hopefully, if you're okay with it, we'll get this on the agenda for next week for the public hearing. So this is a summary of what we're proposing. And then the follow-up changes up here in the pages behind it, where it's the actual chapter and verse of the code is we're proposing to change it. One thing that you will note is that the planning commission heard these in a public hearing as well, after proper notice was given, and they looked at, in particular, section 106-1-5.3 under approval procedures. It's on page 3. Thank you. Page 3. It's starting in line 75. There were some changes regarding approval authority. And under this, for preliminary approval, the approval authority, staff had proposed to change that to a staff level approval for preliminary plat. We did that kind of as a preemptive thing, thinking that perhaps the state would change the ordinances and allow for, it already allows for it, but would require a staff level approval of preliminary plat subdivisions. Both planning commissions requested that we change that language back to planning commission review and approval. So that language is what will be in front of you next week. Basically reverting this back to the original text as outlined.
Great. Questions, commissioners? None?
Mr. Ford? I agree. So the planning commissions looked at your basically suggestions and went back and said they want planning commission, but I thought the state took that provision out. So for final plat approval, you're correct. All right. But preliminary plat, they weren't as clear. So at preliminary plat, they requested that it remain at final plat. State says don't go to planning commission. Correct.
Or county commission.
Or county commission. Right, got it. Okay.
Yeah,
Makes sense. No
as far as
question. Clarify that.
as far as preliminary goes, there is a little bit of disclarity in the way that they wrote the new state code. And so I don't think we have any concerns keeping it to planning commission. We suspect at some point in time, they might change the state code to either clarify that it should be the planning commission or to clarify that it should be staff. And if that happens, then we'll come back with a change.
I think you'll see that clarified this year. I think so too. We were trying to get out ahead of this so we didn't have to come back, but we'll do what we need to do.
Great. Okay. I don't have any questions, and since there are no questions,
Are you okay for this being on for next Tuesday's county commission for a public hearing?
I think we're prepared if you think Commissioner Froy, your portfolio, but I think that.
Yep.
I don't have an issue with that.
No, I mean, we're just bringing it up to state code as, you know,
Yeah,
appreciate you guys keeping an eye on state code.
And this needs to be taken care of by February first.
Right.
So that's why we're.
I-
before you.
Mr. Ch-
We have a a Zoom call set up with him for staff and the attorneys to talk to him and just go over everything, make sure it all looks good, according to what they understand requirements to be UAC and then him, maybe in his legislative capacity as well. So if he comes up with any concerns or anything like that, there may be some minor tweaks, but, Bill and Charlie and Rick would, certainly incorporate that into here.
so we can make that change if this is if this is next week, then.
Yes,
Presented.
yeah, it'll be before you have your,
I think our discussion with him is on the tenth.
it's on the tenth,
So-
this Wednesday.
Very good.
So
Okay,
we're just trying to make
we'll
sure
be
everything's
prepared
covered.
then. Okay, maybe let us know beforehand though, so it's not us, but.
Yeah, we'll let you know.
Okay, great.
Yes.
I think you've got the design or the desire of the commission, Mr. Kobe.
All right, thank you very much.
There you
What I
go.
needed.
All right, here, as we progress through the agenda. Very good, all right, so. Our next commission item is 12:30, or not necessarily timed. But this is a discussion regarding the subdivision ordinance process modification. Oh, sorry, thank you. Number 3 is the discussion regarding CW The Basin development rights. We've got with us on this Rick Grover, Charlie Ewert, Cortland Erickson, Gary Myers, Tucker Waite. Rick, I think you're there, and then Sean Wilkinson, and I see Mr. Dunleavy, Mr. Lewis here as well. So you're listed first, Mr. Grover. Would you like to carry the ball here?
Yeah, and then I'll have Charlie jump in as well, but we were hoping to have UDOT here, because we want to talk about the access.
Do you want to hold? Are they coming then?
Just supposedly at 1 o'clock.
Then let's hold for 15 minutes. If you've scheduled them to come, we'll hold for 15 minutes. I'll entertain a motion to saunter.
Motion is on.
Second,
I have a motion to saunter for 15 minutes. For those online and are here in person, we'll saunter until approximately 1 PM and then rejoin this. Thank you. We welcome you back to our commission work session. I failed to say earlier that we're in full staff. To my right is Commissioner Sharon Bolos, and to my left is Commissioner Gage Frohr. We welcome those who've joined us today. We have representation from CW. Tell me your name again.
Chase, Freeburn.
I remember you, Chase.
Yep.
And then Brett from UDOT's here as well, so thanks for being here. Okay, so we're gonna have Charlie, you lead out on this discussion. Please go ahead.
So last time, we had a discussion with the parties at the table. You guys asked us to make sure we get UDOT back at the table before we make any kind of decisions or final discussions on any kind of agenda item. Just to refresh your memories, the CW land was rezoned from CBR one to FR3.
Hold on just a minute, Charlie. Sean? No, would you drive or Charlie, do you want to drive and put this up? I'd like to share for the sake of those who are online, just out of respect. That's okay. I'd never throw peanuts at a Dodger game, but well, if I did, I'd throw them overhand.
You want to toss me the keyboard?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. So as I'm looking this, this is rezoned from the CBR one zone to the FR3 zone. Both zones allowed for the same amount of density, which is roughly, 20 units to the acre. However, when the CW development agreement was approved, the development agreement was approved with the commission only allowing 10 dwelling units to be constructed. And this is on the corner of Old Snow Basin Road, Highway 39. This project, about 3 or so.
You share your screen.
Oh, with those online, thank you. Thank you. So talking about this property roughly right in here. This is Highway 39, this is Old Snow Basin Road. So when that development agreement was done, the commission limited the property to no more than 10 dwelling units. Even though they could potentially get, I don't know, it's probably somewhere around 64 or so dwelling units on the property if they use the FR free zone to do that. Or excuse me, the density of the FR3 zone. So the question here at hand is, number one, we know that we need intersection improvements to Old Snow Basin Road and Highway 39. We know we probably should have gotten some intersection improvements with Legacy Ranch to this intersection here, as well as intersection improvements from this developer. And this developer, I think we already have a commitment for some percentage of intersection improvements here at that intersection. So the question that was posed to you a year or two ago was, would you be comfortable with the development rights that are still assigned to the property, but you limited to 10? So instead of 64, it's 10, so there's 54 or so left over. Would you be comfortable with the property owner selling those development rights in exchange for improvements being made to that intersection? That's the question. We had some kind of a tentative agreement, I think, just in verbal, on some percentage share between CW, the county, and Legacy Ranch development. I can't remember what those numbers are, but we can dig that up. And last time we discussed with you guys, you mentioned, let's make sure we have UDOT at the next meeting, the next time we have this conversation, so we can get a good understanding of what it is that UDOT is gonna want right there at that intersection, and maybe put in some, or guesstimate some costs at that. We have UDOT here with us.
Do you have any comment on any of this?
No, like I said, it's absolutely correct, where the development's bringing that traffic to here. It'd be the development's responsibility to make those improvements on SR 39. Even though the development is accessing Snow Basin Road, they're bringing the
Old
trips.
Snow Basin
Old Snow Basin Road. They're bringing those trips that would drive the need to put in, and I believe there's a right turn pocket at this location currently. The one that is really needed is a left turn pocket. And so left turn pockets are a little bit more pricey because you have to, you chase the road back, so your angles will work as you move the traffic out, around the left turn pocket. So yeah, that's what it, I don't think it does not warrant the signal. It just warrants a left turn lane into this development or into old Snow Basin.
So is the right turn lane, are we okay with that? It's more just the left turn?
Yeah, the right turns there. It's substandard. It's not huge, but it works. Typically people can get off the road. It's people on that road, they are driving fast. You have a lot of trailers, right now, a lot of snow with it. In the summer, you got recreation vehicles. Where people are, so the ability to get them out of the road, so you don't have people getting hurt, makes a big difference.
Well, it looks like from this map, you've already got a right turn in there with those two arrows. You're just talking about a left turn coming out of Old Snow Basin Road back on the highway.
No.
A left turn on.
Left turn on the highway.
Oh, okay.
Which would
Left
give you
turn
enough
coming
space for a ramp.
westbound.
Yes,
Got it. So Commissioner Frohr, I've got a couple things memory wise, but it doesn't match up everything we're seeing here. What do you remember?
But as far as this discussion,
Yeah,
well, I think we've always talked about the left hand. We knew the right hand was there, even though it's probably substandard. So it's worked. We all know when the hot points are up there in the winter, snowmobile trailers, recreation in the summer. So that's what you're dealing with both ways. I know we had that discussion as far as allowing the development rights to be sold in exchange for, again, provisions being made for putting in that left-hand turn lane. In other words, transfer those to John and Shane was the conversation in exchange for some type of agreement back that they would pay for that left-hand turn lane. If we can't talk UDOT into it, it doesn't appear very likely.
No, there's a need there, but the need is being driven by the increase of.
So that was the discussion. I guess my question is, I think there was at least a preliminary understanding, then it kind of went away. So, now that, there's never an agreement finalized, do those rights still exist? That's my question.
Well, and at the time, the TDR ordinance did not exist. There was talk of it coming down the line, but it did not yet exist. And I can't speak for my predecessor, Todd, but I know they moved forward to record the development agreement, and then I think they had that discussion after. But
If you don't mind, and for Sharon, for your benefit too. So we went back and looked at the tapes from those two meetings we had back in May of 22. And it's refreshing to go through all that and kind of look at what all we were saying with Todd and everybody there. But, we went through all it was an hour and a half of discussing it all. At the very end of it, the motion that was made was that of all this work that needs to get done, still yet to be defined by Gary and UDOT, but whatever it is, it was roughly 350, maybe as much as 4. But the county felt like they would do 100 of it, and whatever was left, we agreed at the table to take on 2/3 of it with Legacy and 1/3 of it CW. And then I made the suggestion of, well, why don't we'll pay for the counties and CWs and ours in exchange for the TDRs. Got into a discussion about, are they still there or not? Cortland, you ended up saying, well, the development agreement, which was already done, actually is silent on whether we can or not, so I can't really say. We ought to go back and redo and amend the development agreement and acknowledge that they're there, because it's not clear, but we should. And then, that didn't happen. That was one problem. But at the end of it, there was a motion and it was agreed on to acknowledge the TDRs in exchange for the work being paid for and the taxpayers saving the money. Or at least 100 of it.
How many TDR?
50. Well, it was 54 was left over, and it was 50 for us and 4 for CW if they could figure out something to do with it. But it was, the math was 20 per acre, 3 acres, 60. It was technically 3.2, whatever, but it was 64 minus the 50 minus the 10. So in our point, we were looking for the 50. I think that's probably all it will be, end up left over, but I think Cortland, I don't want to speak for you, but it was basically, you probably could acknowledge them, because if the declarant defaulted because at that point they hadn't started, there was a development agreement signed, but they could have walked away from the development agreement. And it may or may not be able to revert back to the original zoning. It wasn't covered in the development agreement for some reason. So so that led that meeting to, okay, well, then we'll acknowledge it if you'll pay for the bill. So that was the motion and that was what was approved.
So commissioners, that's exactly what I remember. I didn't remember the date or time, but I remember that because I remember Commissioner Jenkins said, well, I guess we've now established the value of what a TDR is worth. Tucker, you're nodding your head, yes. I remember that statement, like, okay, so here it goes. I mean, they talk about TDRs and that, but I remember that happening. But there's a clarification, Brad, I want to show you. I don't remember the left as much as I remember a right turn going out of here.
Yeah.
It was gonna be a right. The construction of this was gonna be a right turn coming out of here. But maybe I misunderstood.
I think you had another plan to try to help out the church and stuff down the street, right?
Yeah, there were two pieces to that.
There's a couple things there, Commissioner, and Brett, I'd kind of look to you to correct me if I speak out of turn here, but part of the reason you remember the widening in that location, Commissioner, was because that's really the best place to widen that road in that area. Meaning,
Okay.
if we try to widen on both sides, the culvert on the north side kind of ends right there. We had the ability to widen it to the south right there to accommodate that left turn lane that Brett alluded to.
They're also trying to protect some property in there for a
Yeah.
future trail.
Right.
So if you just expand out, what's gonna happen is then when we come back and put a trail in, then we're gonna bear the very expensive, right away and build, get a trail through this section.
That's important. The trails are hugely important for me, these, and I think.
Because it's the ultimate goal is to actually be able to have a trail around the dam.
Yeah, so Gary, you're saying that the reason where I was pointing to on the map, that had to do to accomplish the left turn in coming east to west and then turning left from that highway up to Old Snow Basin.
West to south.
West to south, right, west to south.
Show me
down on the
there,
left.
Brett.
Your left turn, okay, so this is Highway 89,
Yeah,
it's the left turn here,
Uh-huh.
89, so.
and then
you're
turn to
down.
south.
Turn to the south.
I'm sorry, if the road goes from east to west, it'd be a left-hand turn to go south.
That's correct.
Westbound.
This probably, I'm just not schooled in that as well, from the lingo.
Time of thinking.
No worries.
Same thing.
But it accomplishes, whatever it is, it accomplishes what you were talking about.
So what's, and we actually laid out drawings for the county.
I think that's right, that maybe I've seen some of those too.
Yes.
Yeah,
So-
Brett had one of his designers do some quick, design on it as well as a quick estimate, and Brett, it's been probably 2 or 3 years since we looked at that, so
It's old, but the drawings would still be
Yeah.
valid, but the cost would not.
yes, cost would be.
It'd be less expensive?
Prices go down, right?
I love the optimism.
So Charlie, where are we on this? What are you asking for? I'm good at that, aren't I, Sean? I waited for that exact moment. Go ahead, swallow it whole and
At this time, we
More
just
will
really
give you
need
the
to get a, yeah, we just need to get a good take from you guys on whether or not you're comfortable saying those 50 or so development rights exist. And if they do, you know, we could take it from there.
whether they still, if those still exist based on what we agreed to in that May or June meeting back in 2022.
Sure.
Commissioner Farrar, I'm gonna go to you first.
Well, I guess the question I have, is it, number one, has this been to planning commission?
No. It has.
First thing I'd say, this definitely has to go to planning commission before I'm comfortable with it.
Well, but we were about to, and then we remembered that
So
we
I guess,
needed to
I
have
guess
to
the
do that.
part that I question, and again, I think we need to limit it. Are there TDRs there? Possibly. But they're different TDRs because these were all air rights.
Mhm.
When you say there were 60-some units, it all would have been a hotel.
Mhm.
That wouldn't have been 60 homes on there. So we have to, in my opinion, I'm not comfortable with saying taking 60 air units. They could have very well put the hotel there. It was a done deal. Okay, they decided at their direction, CW's direction, they said, we're not gonna put the hotel, we want to rezone. So this was a self-imposed, what I call, this was a self-imposed hardship.
Yeah.
Or whatever, we call it a hardship or whatever. It was their decision to do it. But I don't think, I'm not comfortable with taking air rights and then taking those 50 air rights and saying you can put 50 homes somewhere else. Now, it should be, there's a saying in the real estate business, it's called like for like. I'm comfortable saying like for like, so if we wanna take air units, air rights, and make those somewhere else, I'm probably comfortable with that. But I think that's a discussion for the planning commission.
When you're saying air, you're thinking second story?
Yeah, second or third story.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm not comfortable saying we can take 50 units that were gonna be a hotel and put 50
Single family dwelling.
single family dwellings.
That makes sense.
That's not what TDR, I don't think that's what the TDR ordinance was intended to do.
No.
Correct me if I'm
No,
wrong.
you're spot on.
So that's where I'm at, Commissioner.
Great. Commissioner Bolus, by the way, Christie has, if you'd like to see commissioners, if you'd like to see those minutes from that May of 2022 meeting, Christie has them. If you'd like them, go
Well,
ahead.
I
I'd like
don't,
to
I'm
see
not,
them.
I'm not disputing there was,
Christie, bring those in.
there
will you?
was rights,
Oh,
but it's how those rights are applied is what, that's why it needs to go to planning commission.
Great, thank you.
yeah, that's a great point about air rights and,
Well, we're fine.
yeah, I wanna look at the minutes, but if somebody could send me the link. so I can listen to
Bottom
the
line,
audio,
there was
just to
never
get up to
any,
speed,
I mean,
that
let's
would
cut
be
to the
great.
chase. There was never any resolution, there was never any commission action.
Well, hang on,
There was a
it's not, there was a motion and it was approved.
But it was in a work session.
Yeah. is
It
that
wasn't,
what
wasn't a commission action.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we never got into a formal meeting.
No. Yeah, so we never approved, John.
Yeah, do we have a calculation for air rights versus,
That's why it has to go to planning, I mean,
I mean, I don't think we have that, it doesn't exist.
that's why it needs to go to planning commission to see what
In,
happens.
in our particular case, we would be applying second, third story air rights to our second, third story stuff at Eden Crossing, for instance.
Okay.
So it would be like for like in our case.
Well, like for like is what I think we need to look
I
at.
see
That's the only
that.
fair way to do it.
And I think that is fair, but I'm happy to stay on the record based on these January 2nd and, excuse me, I misstated. Based on those May 2nd and May 9th, work session minutes, that I'm happy to keep our agreement as long as like for like, but I think
Yeah.
that's what we need to do.
Yeah, I'm not disputing the right.
Does that answer your question, Charlie?
It does. It does.
Mr. Erickson, do you have a comment here? Would you like to see these minutes, Mr. Erickson?
Not right now.
Okay.
But I do think amending the development agreement would be wise,
Yeah.
as was stated earlier, to make it clear that that's what's happening. It is, as was discussed earlier, a situation where it was very unclear.
Right.
at
We
the
knew,
time.
we knew what we knew at the time. That was as good as we could do.
And it was also mentioned that TDR ordinance was not in place at the time. And so it may have been something that nobody really thought about because there wasn't actually a mechanism for transferring those development rights at the time this was entered into.
Well, Charlie, it
That's-
was halfway done, right? Like the ordinance was there, but the form-based
Formality.
landing pad portion you had to finish. So you were kind of encouraged everybody just,
Was in
everybody hold
process.
your breath. We're getting there, but we're not there today, so you
Okay.
can't That's why I got kind
That's-
of paused.
That's, I remember it that way too. That's what I remember, Charlie, and you guys had kept us abreast and informed about how this was going and where this was ending up and things like that. I don't have an issue with that.
If we went back in time and we had the form-based zone done with the TDRs, allowances that are in the form-based zone now, and the applicant came in with the FR3 zone, the applicant would be able to transfer all 64 units if they wanted to, or any portion of those 64 units.
I think like Commissioner Forrest said, like for like,
Yeah, I think that'd be fair.
but not 64 more dwellings on the Upper Valley floor on the ground. I don't, that kind of.
Yeah, you're not taking 54 units off the valley floor. You're taking them off,
Mhm.
A building.
a building,
Yep.
airspace.
Yep.
We call it air rights, so two totally different things, and maybe we need to address, I don't know if we'll see this again, but we probably need to address that
In the
terms of,
TDR code.
as far as the code.
Yep.
If anybody comes in with that, then, and I would look for the planning commission to come up with, okay, how does that go about?
Okay.
Can that, can't go on a single family lot, it can go on a multi-story
Yeah.
hotel.
Or it's zoned for that.
The zone for it.
Perfect.
Right now, we'd have to do it in the development agreement. A new development agreement? Well, an
amended.
In an
Oh,
amended.
yeah, no, I think you have to
I'm
amend the
okay.
agreement. No,
But let's take that, I think we're pretty unanimous
Mhm.
there. Let's send that back to the
Planning
planning commission and go from there, Charlie.
Sounds great.
all right.
Any questions, Mr. Wilkinson?
No, I think that's a good solution.
Okay, Mr. Myers?
Are we good with this, the split of the cost of the improvements?
That's,
Well, that's,
Or is
You
that a
you tell us.
discussion
The discussion.
Yeah.
Is that
You're the
another
cost guy.
discussion?
I think so.
I would like you to freeze those costs, though. I know that you and Brett came up with a calculation. I know
Well,
county was it in 100.
So.
I
so
think you
we're-
guys were in it 450. You guys were just helping. I don't think you guys were participating.
We were not.
they gave us a pretty map.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what we get.
Yeah.
We do that well.
They do, they do good maps.
Gary, that's gonna come back eventually to you, so if you could be updating your costs on that.
Yeah, I'll get with Brett, we'll refine those a little bit and we'll get a better number for you.
Recreational use.
Commissioners, would it be fair to ask,
Yeah.
would it be fair to ask the applicant?
I have a question for you.
Recreational use.
Hold on, let me get this back. Shane, go ahead, and then I'm gonna go to Charlie.
Yeah, one of the thought, we had is what about the recreational use of that intersection? Cause that really is a large bulk of what's going through there now. I live on Old Snow Basin Road now, and I just see everyone going by with their bikes and their horse trailers and, the bulk of use really is recreational. It's not the dwellings. So how do we kind of address that use and that increased use?
Well, we could do a couple things, really, as I'm sitting here thinking about it, the easiest way would be, I have two counters.
Mhm.
I could put up one counter that shows what the number of vehicles is right at the turn. I could also then take another counter, put it upstream, once we're past all the homes.
Yeah.
And I could tell you exactly what that number of use is, percentage wise. The question is it gonna be different in the wintertime versus the summer? I mean, I could put it up right now. There's probably a lot of guys, I shouldn't say guys, there's probably a lot of people going up there, fat biking, snowshoeing, all sorts of different things. I think there very well would be a different use, different times of the year, if I'm being
I think
honest.
you're right.
But I'd be happy to do that at different times if that's an agreeable thing.
It's mute if we pay for the whole thing, right?
That's,
So I guess we see if
Yeah.
it works or not.
yeah.
I mean,
It would be mute.
good
Let's
point.
you're
go
not
back
gonna,
to
you're not
where
gonna
we
change the design based upon the
Right,
user.
correct.
The
Whatever
use
it
is the
is,
use, so.
Yeah.
But Mr. Chair, if I might,
Please.
I would say, what I'd like to see is Gary put together the final numbers on this using accurate data, whenever that may go in for cost standpoint, and then that be included in that agreement,
Okay, great.
and the amended
Development agreement.
development agreement, so we
You
know
okay with
exactly
that?
what they're responsible for, et cetera.
Gage, what specifically goes back to, I'm
Will
sorry.
you hold that question for
Sure.
just a second?
Yeah.
Charlie, does that answer your questions?
Yeah, in part, I was just wondering if the applicant would be okay if the $100,000 that we previously committed, if that would just be a nice hard number that we can rely on, and then the remaining portion would be the 2/3, 1/3 percentage, and so that'd just be a difference of whatever they decide to
In
contribute.
fairness to the county, that's what I remembered
I
as
think it's
well.
fine.
But one more but then for you, John? hasn't changed their position as far as ending up any money, have they?
Not in this location, no, Commissioner.
Could you ask again?
Sure. So you asked a question just a second ago. What happens is if you count, just look at the dwellings that are out there and the number of trips. The number of dwellings and the trips that are already utilizing this subdivision or this road far exceeds what UDOT would have ever allowed before a left turn was required. So the last two developments should have required the formulation or the building of this new, the left turn. That's what's triggering it. Yes, there is recreational use, but the dwellings themselves trigger enough trips based on the number of cars and allocated to each lot would require a left-hand turn. The problem is the development and these homes are accessing a side road. So sometimes it's difficult for cities or the county to look at that and say, yeah, the old Snow Basin Road has capacity for these homes. What they sometimes fail to look at is because of this additional need, these homes are now driving a need downstream, which turns out to be a state road. It just happens to be a state road. A lot of times it could be another county collector road. So that's when we need to kind of chase it downstream to make those improvements, to make sure the facility can still accommodate what is happening.
With all due respect, I hear what you're saying, and I don't disagree with it, but my feeling is back in the seventies and early eighties, when I was using that road all the time, there was a lot more traffic on that before Trappers Loop opened up for all these residents died. So if there was a requirement done on those roads, it could have been, in my view, it could have been, why didn't that get put in 1974 or 1982 or
We're talking about completely different standards than 1970.
I get it. So that's probably, let me go to you,
We've
John.
advanced things quite a bit since then.
Yeah, okay, and that's fair. John?
Well, just for the record, even though it got, it didn't happen with us and it kind of just happened at the last minute with CW, we're still totally fine paying for the growth. So just
Okay,
wanted that
that's
on
great.
the record, of
Thank
course.
you.
So retroactively, we'll go back, make sure it all happens.
That's great.
Okay?
Thank you.
Separate from that, just so I'm clear, are you saying that it needs to go back to the planning commission? But what exactly goes back? An amended development agreement?
DA with the costs breakdown.
Cost breakdown, amended,
Okay,
and making sure, clarify, okay,
The
if
transfer.
their air rights, where can they be put? Needs to be specified, they can't go, these are not go on developed lots, these are go airspace. And then they need to make a determination, is that basic, does it need to go into hotel? Can it go into a second or third level? We need to clarify that.
And Charlie, will the county draft that?
We can help. Yeah, we can definitely help.
yeah, and hotels don't have TDRs.
No.
But the multifamily behind them does.
Right.
So,
Condos.
Yeah, if you look at the development across the street, that's the same kind of development that could have shown up on this property, which is townhomes, condos. So I think if we're looking for like, we'd probably make that happen.
I think that's a good catch, though. You don't want a bunch of multifamilies showing up as single families somewhere else. That's the exact opposite of the general plan.
Right.
So good catch.
So, and I think, Mr. Chair, we should, we need to look at those costs, based upon what we just heard from UDOT. That probably should have been a requirement 100% on the developer. So is it, is the county's responsibility to put in the 100,000? I mean, I know that's what was discussed, but
And the reason the county did that, if I may jump in, is I believe it was because it's kind of a retroactive. There's something that all of a sudden we seen there was a need and there was already development that probably should have triggered it earlier. And so it's in a way to forgiveness of, that's not.
I think that's
Yeah.
kind of what I remember too, why this was our token donation towards the project.
because we didn't make the developers do it in the past, yeah. So let's not let that happen again, Gary.
Absolutely. Well, to be honest with you, Commissioner, the thing that triggered this was the traffic study I requested.
Right.
I believe it was from, I don't think it was for, Legacy, it was for, yeah. So, knowing the, high occupancy, that's why we requested the study, and it identified that it was, like Brett said, probably an older deficit that needed to be addressed.
We did do one for you guys and it came in, I think, 25%.
I think so.
So
That's ringing a bell. Joe.
that's why we came in even higher as far as offering, but that's not what the traffic study said.
Right.
Got it.
Okay, any other discussion on this? Seeing or hearing none? Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Commissioners, appreciate it.
Commissioner Harvey, congratulations on your chairmanship.
Yeah, I don't know.
Good luck.
It's kind
Been
of,
a shuffle since we've seen
We
you.
get
Yeah.
shuffled seats, yeah.
Thank
yeah,
you.
that was the old switcheroo Gates pulled on me, you know?
Yeah. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks, yeah. Right.
I'm trying to just happy to pass that on.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks. Good to see you, man.
Hey, take care.
Every time I call you, you're always good to pick up the phone and.
Tell Rob hi for us.
I will, and I think we're coming back to meet with you guys again.
Yeah, Stephanie, we've got some stuff with you got going on. Remind me what that is.
For the roundabout.
Oh, yeah.
Heading up to Powder Mountain. Next week?
I don't know. I think that's a Charlie.
Because I did see, we are coming back.
Is it that or Nordic Valley?
Discussion, no, for the roundabout.
We got a roundabout going on.
So originally, I was thinking with my best friends coming here to talk about it, and all of a sudden they pulled into it.
Is it the roundabout, for Nordic Valley or is it?
No, it's the roundabout for Powder Mountain. Well,
I'm gonna write that in there.
It's the same.
That's right, yeah.
It's a four-way stop.
Yeah.
The roundabout
We're now back. We welcome those of you who are online and in the room, back to our work meeting on this, the 8th of January. So we have one of the greatest wildland forest guys in all the West, Rick Cooper, to give our presentation. Captain,
Yes, sir.
go ahead.
Well, I just, I usually like to do this in December, but, with holidays and vacations and stuff like that, I was a little late getting in and just kind of giving the county commissioners a rundown of what we saw, what we did in fire season 2023.
Great.
You know, as we all know, going into 2023 we had a record snow year, which we anticipated a very, very slow fire season. With that slow fire season, it actually gave us an opportunity to really get into and do a lot of wildland fire mitigation. We actually increased our high-risk communities by one this year. It was a newcomer. Spent about a week in there working with the community, the homeowners, did a lot of home assessments, and then, of course, wildland mitigation chipping. So that was kind of like the highlight of what we did. Total grass fires we had in 2023 was 183 grass fires. Now, in 2022, we had 294, so we were down about 111 fires from the year before. But with that being said, it seems like a lot, but most of those fires were less than a tenth of an acre. And a lot of it was due to our initial dispatching stacks, catching grass fires quick and early and keeping them small. The 2022, we had a lot of grass fires in 2022, but here again, we had such a record drought year, we didn't get any vegetation growth. And so it limited the spread of grass fires. And compared to last year, where we had an abundant amount of moisture, we had a lot of grass growth, but the fuel moisture content stayed so late that we never really got into any critical levels last year. We were only in fire restrictions for about a month. That was it.
I remember that.
Yeah. And that was even a toss up, going into fire restrictions. For Weaver County and Weaver Fire District, we had a total of 73 grass fires. And then we had a total of 54 acres burned last year. So that we were way down on acreage last year from the year before. And our largest fire we had was 4.5 acres. It was in the Upper Valley. It was late season, temporarily evacuated about 4 or 5 homes. It got kind of big, scary really quick, and then it kind of laid down. We had no home damage to that little grass fire, but one was because of defensible spacing. The fire just basically hit around them and it kind of went around the homes. It was in and out very, very quickly. So
That's because of education work that's been done, isn't it? The defensible spacing.
yep, that education and then the WUI code as well that was a big benefit. It was a newer subdivision. Was put in after 2006. So a lot of the homes were that non-combustible material and with a non-combustible vegetation around them. And we did meet with the HOA after and gave them a few pointers. They were very concerned about a common area. That's where the fire started, was an excavator doing some yard work. It happens. We told them to mow it down the best you possibly can or fence it off, put a horse, a couple of cows, goat, something out there to keep the vegetation down and they wouldn't have any issues. But
Are you saying that a horse eats as much as 2 cows?
yeah, pretty cool. So I own 3 of them and they go through a lot of hay
Yeah.
still. 3 of the horses.
Horse, couple of cows or some goats, and I don't know
Yeah.
how many that is, but are they gonna do?
Something to get out there and just vegetate
I'm
it down.
just trying to figure out the livestock element of it.
Couple of goats.
Yeah.
that was kind of about the really highlight of the fire season. It was really, really quiet. What we did see an increase last year was single tree lightning strikes. We ended up, that was almost about 17% of our calls last year. Then that was due to the increased monsoon that we had. And even in the wind, even in the rain bands, we were still getting single trees. For every one that's reported, there's probably 2 or 3 that go unreported. But August was a pretty busy month, for us catching grass, single tree lightning strikes. And they were all in the backcountry, all in Weaver County that we had. I know Cache County only had a couple, Rich County had one, and then it seemed like for some reason Weaver County was the lightning band. So there was a few nights we took several hundred lightning strikes.
Wow.
So it was a pretty impressive show up there a couple of nights when I was up on some of the single trees watching them come across. So, that was kind of that was our highest, was the lightning strikes. Just kind of going into our mitigation work, what we've been doing has been working in currently 11 high-risk communities. 10 are in the upper valley and 1 in the lower valley, and the Uinta Highlands and Uinta City kind of a combined mitigation efforts there. Between the 11 high-risk communities, we treated approximately 579 acres, and that's pretty accurate GPSing.
Wow.
Yeah, it was impressive last year.
Your technology for all that stuff's getting better and better, isn't it?
It is. It is. We've got some really awesome mapping programs now. We use what we call field maps. We can right off my tablet, I can walk around and pinpoint a pile and hit a GPS point, and then walk to another GPS point. And we can keep track of all of our piles, and then we can estimate from that pile how many acres are treated. I wouldn't say that 579 is exact, but that's a pretty close assessment. We can't, like each yard is maybe a quarter acre, this might be 5 acres. We just kind of did an encompassing around a community, and we came up with about 579 acres is what I calculated in October when I submitted everything. And that was all defensible spacing. And what that is we work with the high-risk communities. The communities work, we do a home assessment, which is we educate the public on defensible spacing, what to remove and how to remove it. And then they take it to the roadway, and then Weaver Fire District comes through and chips it. Or we'll pile and or burn it is another option, that we did. Total in-kind match, and this is for our cooperative wildland fire systems. Are you familiar with that? It's a state policy. We do the mitigation preparedness. They cover it. Just in mitigation alone, we did $308,000 in in-kind match. And that's the community. And then there's 111,000 on top of that of what the district provides in staffing. And then equipment with total PC match of $450,371 for the year, which we're slightly down from last year, but I think it was due to the late snowpack. I think we were right around 600,000 last year. So, but not bad. I was very happy with the numbers.
Great.
Let's see. One of the good ones I worked with was the Weaver Wildlife Gun Range. They did almost $40,000 in mitigation work this year. They went through and improved all their fire breaks. They actually put additional fire breaks in position. So there is a series of fire breaks. And what that's designed to do is if a fire will occur, if a fire does occur, it won't allow the fire to gain enough steam. It'll hit another fire break and slow it. It won't actually stop it, but it could slow it and give us time to get a fire apparatus on the incident and get the fire extinguished.
That's the place right up there off of Avon, isn't it,
It is.
Gage?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That is.
and Jim Woody, I think the guy's name is that does that, is the head of that.
I work with a guy named Elwood Powell.
Elwood,
Elwood's
Woody,
there.
Woody.
Okay,
Elwood Powell, that's the same guy, yeah,
same guy. And I know he's been working with you on
yeah.
expanding the gun range.
We've had a few conversations, yeah.
As long as that, those mitigation efforts are critical as far as I'm concerned, because they had a high incident here in the last, well, before they started doing all those mitigation efforts. You told me once they were one of the highest, chances of something breaking out there than anywhere else in the area at least.
Yeah, they, from what the stats I heard, they could have been like the number one gun range with problem fires. is
That's what I heard.
What they would, indicate. They've done a lot of mitigation. I don't want to jinx myself and.
No,
say
no.
it,
It's okay.
but, they've done actually a lot of work up there. And that was kind of like the highlight of this year was the series of breaks. And also berming the, shooting lanes, which is gonna also reduce the probability of ricochet and spreading the grass fire. So they've done some, quite a bit of work up there. And then, our grants, we did apply for a lot of wildland mitigation grants this year. We were only able to get one, and that was the Rainbow Gardens grant, which I met with, the three of you back in June to get that agreement going, and I know the state's working on agreements now. I am not sure why they're dragging their feet, but, we should have some documentation here shortly, I hope. I was kind of hoping we'd have it done before November and we could actually start working this year, but, that's not gonna happen, so. And then I actually put in for a couple of other, grants. We did one $150,000 community outreach grant. It's through the, catastrophic wildland, destructive grant, or CWDG grant. And that is just a outreach program that we can tap into federal resources and have them come in and educate, political people, myself, and the community on effective mitigation work. This will take it beyond what we're actually doing. It is a team. I'm not sure if where they're based out of, but, that is in the West. And from what I understand, they are an outstanding team that'll come in and help. They'll also work with us on other mitigation projects, mitigation proposals, and our community wildland protection plans as well, CWPPs. That's all they do. I'm a firefighter. I don't write grants. I'm not a grant writer. And that was one we are putting in for. And so we're waiting to see what we see on that grant. Yes.
Terrific.
Yep, that's kind of really my report was short, sweet, and to the point.
Question,
Sure.
what can we do? We're continuing to build, this is Jessica, by the way, Rick, she handles all our, like Sasha did from DGO, all of our
Oh, okay.
communication now, so she public relations and that. So what can we do to help get the word out and when to help with this fire? You usually like us to post something in March or April to just say, get your defensible space, surrounding your house. Let's keep that work up. There's no reason to cut that or bring that back down. This might be, Jessica, this might be a great thing if we were to capture all those emails. Remember that Sean had on that thing, and to send up especially to the Upper Valley,
Mhm.
the Ogden Upper Valley, but in UNA and some of those other areas, defensible space. Could you have anything that you can send to Jessica so we can time that? And that can be more, what do we call that? Just more information that we can get to the people out there.
Oh, absolutely. If I just get your contact information, and email address, I'll get you on an email link. And then that stuff goes out. I put it in an email and send it out. You can go to weaverfiredistrict.com and, there is a mitigation link there. And you can look for our fire restriction notifications as well. I know I send Lisa, Swartz Emergency Manager stuff, but I'll definitely keep you in the loop on all that. You can friend us on Facebook and Instagram as well. Jolene, before I leave, I can give you Jolene's information. She does a great job for me. She does all of her postings. I just send it to her. She proofreads it and says, no, you did that wrong, Rick. It doesn't look right. So, but yeah, absolutely. I'd love to work with you more and get that information out.
Would you like my, I'm sorry, would you like
Good.
my contact information now or later?
Later. Yeah, later.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Commissioner Bolos, any questions?
Thank you for the update.
No,
Commissioner Frohr?
Yeah, just a question. So has Joe Hadley contacted you?
no, he is not.
Okay, so last year we had floods, you may or may not remember.
Oh, yeah.
Due to those floods, we
Heard of
pulled.
that?
Yeah,
Gomer.
That's been a long time ago. Because of those floods, we ended up taking, a lot of our crews, private crews.
Oh, yeah.
Took a lot of logs and everything that flushed down for the last 20 years. Anyway, because of that.
On the
we've-
South Fork,
On the
right?
South Fork, I think we have some, but we've got several, maybe up to a half a dozen or more. I'm talking big stacks of logs.
Burn piles.
Burn piles.
Oh, okay.
So what we want to do is commission the fire district to come in whenever they feel appropriate, but, we look at it from a county standpoint, we don't have money to haul, we're talking several $100,000 if we have to haul all that somewhere else.
Absolutely.
So it's better for the county. Can you get a hold of whoever you need to and set that up?
To clean it up.
Well, basically, we just do controlled burns.
Oh, that's me.
Okay. No,
Yeah, I could definitely work with that.
no, I'd
Need
say,
any help?
I'm sure Commissioner Bowles would love to help, so.
yeah, there's no, what it comes down to is my people said, no, we don't want to haul it, we want to burn it.
Yeah,
So, but I need a plan so I can let everybody else know, and Joe's been working with those people as far as dates and times and, you can decide, what ones you want to do and where.
yeah, if you're okay with it, I'll just reach out to Joe directly
Yeah,
and I can.
there's snow on the ground right now, so fire hazards down quite a bit.
I love to burn in the winter. It's the clearing indexes is where we
Yeah.
Hard.
run into our problems.
Clearing index is tough, but up in the Ogden Upper Valley, is it the same?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, they've made one air shed for the northern area. It's
Yeah. So whenever,
Oh.
I understand the index and so whenever it looks like it's clear, and I don't know how much notice we need to give, but
Is it on private property or some of it?
I think all of them are on private property right now, yeah.
Okay,
Joe, we may have some that Joe's done on public, but I think most of it's on private.
private. What I could do for you is I'll just work with Joe
Yeah,
and then I could just come up with a burn plan.
yeah. that'd be great.
And then we'll just identify times and
Yeah,
dates.
That's great,
And we can burn anywhere from March to the end of May.
sure.
I would like, hopefully we can get not a really wet spring or the really big heavies. And we can burn that out pretty easy. The only thing I would ask is if the county could bring up a front end loader to help stir those piles once we get them burned down enough
I'm sure they
and
can
get
do
them
that.
kind of cleaned up and stuff like, absolutely. We'd be more than happy to help you
Yeah,
with
I'm
that.
sure.
And
If you just coordinate with Joe, he can get the equipment there and that'd be great.
no, absolutely. We'll definitely handle that.
Save the county a lot of money on hauling that stuff off.
No problem at all. And I'll even save some, a drip torch for Commissioner Bowl if she can come up and do it.
That's what I want.
Well, Harvey said he
That's what I
wants to come up and do hot dogs and
No,
marshmallows. so-
no. Harvey's contributed enough to the numbers that he did there already, right? I'm one of them, right?
Yeah,
Was I
I
one
think
of those?
I did have one note in there. There was one
There
there.
was one.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah.
that's
That'd
not
be
a problem at all. I'd be more than happy to help you out.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I think a good share of those are all within a half a mile or under to the Huntsville station.
now you mentioned it, I had a phone call from a lady and I don't remember who it was. And she left me a voicemail. I was on some vacation. I called her back and she wanted to burn a big pile. And I was a little concerned about the size of it. It
Could've
wasn't
been
the
Melissa
size.
Harrison.
I think that's who it was. And it wasn't the pile size, it was the size of the trees that she wanted to burn, which you have to stay there and you have to have equipment to move all that stuff
No,
around,
that's,
so.
I think they actually have two or three on their property right now, so.
Yeah, and I told her just, I says, if you could wait until like March and get us out of this clearing index stuff, I'd be more than happy to help
And
you.
I'll coordinate with them.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you're good, I'll just work with Joe.
That'd be great.
And I'll come up with a burn plan and let you, keep him in the loop and keep you guys in the loop, and I'll let the chiefs know as well.
That would be great.
Okay, that's all I had.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you, Trip.
Thank you.
Always great to see you, man.
Likewise, as always, and I'm sure you'll see me here again,
We'll be in touch.
shortly. The warden's contract is, for renewal, so, when they'll do that, I don't know, but since I was here to let you know.
Okay,
So if you guys still want me,
I do.
Absolutely.
still here, you have me for another 10 years, that's all. That's it.
Great.
Thank you.
10 years is good. We'll
Yep.
take it.
Thank you. I'll take my mess
Thanks,
with
Rick.
me. Thank you, commissioners, and you have a good day.
Appreciate
Thanks,
you,
you too.
friend. Good luck.
Always.
Okay.
Hey there, Brandon. Wow.
Mr. Quinney.
It's not just me, there are more coming. to the
Oh,
party.
great.
Really? Just not the Quinny show, huh?
Not today. Someday you might.
What are we
get-
talking about that's so
This,
important?
this is gonna be on Qnergy.
Yeah,
Qnergy.
energy.
It was fun.
You might get the Queenie show someday, but not today.
Oh, it was awesome. It was burning stuff.
You sure you don't wanna come up and do a couple marshmallows?
Thank you so much. Yeah.
That'll
I'm
be good
sure.
coals, I'm sure.
Uh-huh. I've got all my own stuff to burn.
That makes sense.
We're not talking bridges, Jim, are we?
No. I don't
Never.
burn bridges. I don't like to.
I don't either.
Let's not burn bridges.
You build them,
He's
right?
a builder. He's a builder. He's a
No,
bridge
Scott Jenkins was the builder of bridges, cause his
Yeah.
uncle.
repairer.
He repaired bridges.
Do you want this copy, Stephanie? I've got one.
Oh, yeah, I'll take it. I just didn't know if you had one.
Well, assuming my laptop finishes updating.
Hope the weather.
Maybe I'll come sit by you just in case.
Yeah.
We got a Q Energy guys coming in or?
They're not coming in today. We're just introducing the, what do we have?
Should somebody sit over here then? Just-
Sure.
Yeah, probably be you.
Just so you guys have somebody to
We're
look
just
at.
going over the amended agreement.
Oh,
And it's based off of everything that we had, when we had them come in last time and do the presentation, we needed to come back.
so nothing's changed from that.
No, not at all. We're just actually making it official. We're expanding the operation out there. So
Yeah.
You know, I like to see these before they get on our agenda.
it's not on the agenda.
No, on the commission agenda.
Oh, I know. Absolutely. That's why we're doing a work session.
That's what we're doing now, right?
Yeah, I don't ever, you'll never be surprised by me. I will never surprise you with
All
something.
right.
Remember
Not,
that.
no, I don't even need to remember that. I've been in local government long enough to never do that.
Well, you know,
You do it once and you don't ever do it again.
Yeah.
No, you'll never be surprised by something on the agenda.
from you.
Well, I hope that,
For
Todd
me,
or
yes,
Sean-
let's qualify that.
I hope Todd or
Well,
Sean.
we're talking about today, so you get a heads up.
Yeah.
Property.
Yeah.
Heaven forbid. we can get into
I invited them.
Scott Jenkins lecture. Yeah, let's not. Remember that? Big golden shower.
No, I'm not a fan of being reprimanded in a public meeting.
You're not just sitting there, Scott, we talked about it on Monday. No, I was there.
And then after the meeting, he's like, I thought about this. And you're right.
That happened more than once. It was funny.
Not for staff.
Wendy, do you want some food?
No, thank you, though. I've already gone out to lunch.
Where'd you go? So,
Canes.
Oh, I don't know.
Allred loves chicken, so
Go there weekly.
what
Oh,
is
Red
it?
does?
Wait, what is it?
Raising Canes.
I've never heard of it.
Chicken
It's like pure chicken.
Chicken?
It's just breaded chicken, but their sauce is really good.
and their toast.
Yeah, they've got a little piece of toast.
Is that the one that, Post Malone, endorses?
Yes. I tried Zaxby's before,
Oh, yeah, that's a southern thing.
so their
I like that.
toast is a lot like,
Yeah.
Kane's toast is like that.
Zaxby's has the best salads.
How
the
about-
best salads.
How about the chicken flicks or the one out there
Okay.
further?
Oh. I've heard
Yes.
of that.
That was
Chick-
awesome.
Super Chicks.
Super chick.
They have a good salad.
Oh, and they have deep fried.
Where's this?
Pickles.
What is it?
It's where.
What am I saying?
Baguio used to be
Super
there years
Chicks?
ago, which we
I
really
love deep
miss.
fried pickles.
Where
It's
is Riverdale?
Over
Like
by,
the top of Riverdale
just west
or
of Wendy's on
I
Riverdale.
think it's the best. I like it a lot
By-
better than the one you just told about.
Where is it?
Yeah.
By
Out there by
Atmel.
Oh,
And-
yeah, yeah, yeah.
First
Okay.
Walmart.
There's a
Oh, is it?
Starbucks or a coffee shop.
Yeah,
outside.
across the street
Some
from
east end
Applebee's.
of that building.
Okay.
My kids like the
You know
chicken
where
better at
Sweet
Cane's,
Burrito
but I
used to
love
be?
Yeah,
Is it right
that's
there?
it.
Yeah, okay.
Sweeto burrito.
I like
Did
that.
you pull this up or did I?
That's
Sweet
what it
burrito
was,
after,
yeah.
but Bahio was there before.
Right.
and I loved
So
it.
in our
That's
meeting
the one I was
tomorrow
doing.
for LMSA, we're talking with Qnergy. So we've got this organization, a state organization of wastewater.
Right.
I don't know, it's just association, right, Quinny, that wastewater. Anyway, John Price and I've been meeting with them. They approached us. They're gonna be designing a wastewater treatment facility for LMSA as part of a state
Oh.
competition.
Neat.
We've got them tied in with Qnergy to bring methane harvesting into the design process as a pilot program too. So, we're working with them on that, as well as Sean and I this week, we're going out with Ori, the CEO, and Isaac to the C&D landfill to see if they can't harvest methane out of that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they know there's not a lot of organic material, but they wanted to look at it anyway.
Oh,
Check it out.
it's worth checking out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got a bunch of
That's
stuff in the pipeline with these guys.
Good job, Steph. Atta girl.
Love them.
Way to go.
They're so easy to work with.
They're great to work with.
Yeah.
Well, commissioners, let's keep moving on our agenda.
All
We're
right.
at the discussion regarding the updated Qnergy Agreement. Ms. Russell?
Thank you, commissioners. I've got Brandon Quinney and Sean here with us today. As you know, we had brought Qnergy in, a little while back to talk about expanding the current methane harvesting at our closed landfill. And they provided with some really interesting numbers. Basically, at this point with the current setup, we're only harvesting 5% of the 100% that's available out there. They are very, very confident by just adding a little more infrastructure, which is not gonna cost the county almost nothing. We're gonna talk about what we're gonna invest in, to bring that up to 100% methane harvesting out of that.
Just
We will-
open all the valves,
Yeah,
right?
we will be
Yeah.
the only, facility in the state of Utah right now that's harvesting methane out of their closed landfills.
Really?
And this is, the pilot program is just going so phenomenal that we want to expand it quicker than we anticipated. Brandon Quinney has been working with their team and their attorneys and has an updated amended, agreement, that includes expanding the operation. The only thing that we've come to the table with is to expand the platform that it's currently, the concrete platform that it's currently on. It's a really minimal cost.
Yeah, it's a couple
Couple
$100.
$100. So we said we'd go ahead and do that. We've already got with Todd and his team. It's not gonna impact anything they're doing out of the archery range, because it's right there. It's the same spot. They're just expanding it a little
So
bit.
they adding one more, or how many
No,
units?
They still just have the one
one
unit.
unit.
Yeah.
They're just opening more valves.
Oh,
on
I got,
the
that's,
land.
Yeah.
that's what we talked about. All right, sorry.
Yeah, so
I
they
knew
just
that.
need a little better connection.
I knew that.
We're
Yeah,
getting
you
out
do
of
that.
the,
You just push down on the gas pedal a little more, you're gonna get a little more.
yeah,
fuel.
getting out of the testing phase into actually running this. They want to just open it up and.
And that's
let it
gonna
go.
give us about 20 grand a year, I think.
Yeah, about 24,000 in carbon credits.
Credits, yeah.
Mhm, yeah.
But they still don't have a use for the power. They're just,
No, but we
Yeah.
could easily talk about, right now they're flaring it. We can easily talk about at some future point connecting it into the archery range if we want to do that. Because it will start generating significantly more power than what it is right now. So that's absolutely an option if we want to invest in a piping system back to the archery range. So, yeah, we're really excited about it. And, I was just letting, you know that we've got the CEO and their engineer coming out. The CEO's coming out from DC. You guys know Ori, their CEO. He's coming out on Wednesday. And Sean and I are taking them on a tour of our C&D landfill, just to see if there's any potential there to do anything.
Out there, Randy's place, huh?
Yep.
Yeah,
What do they do? How do they do that? They dig a pilot
They
hole?
would,
or-
they would, I don't, they just wanna look at it.
yeah, they just
They
kind of
just
want
wanna
to
see
Wow.
what it looks like, and
Mhm.
they've
There-
got a landfill guy who apparently
Knows
does this
that.
all the time, and he would know.
Hmm.
So,
They're looking for more spots in Utah, particularly northern Utah, since they are located in their operation is located in our county, in Ogden City off of 12th Street. So they're looking for more opportunities in the northern Utah area to start piloting and doing these methane harvesting programs. So we're just kind of
Nice.
showing them the ropes and introducing them to some of the other cities and counties that have closed landfills.
I'm gonna do basic terms.
Basic terms.
Basic terms of the contract is 10 years. Qnergy will have the option to renew for 2 more 5-year periods, so they can add another 5 years on, and then again, another 5 years if the project's doing well. So up to 20 years term. And the compensation is 20% of their net revenues that they receive from carbon offset credits, which is where we come up with the
That's the,
about
that's the 24
24,000.
grand. Yeah.
Yeah, so the contract just captures a percentage. That way it could fluctuate up or down depending on how well the carbon credits earnings go. And otherwise, we've split it up as far as the unit itself is the property of Qnergy. Qnergy will maintain control of that unit and also liabilities attached to it. County just owns the land that it's located on. So that's how we split up ownership and liabilities as well.
Simple ground lease, in case you've never done that.
Yep,
Thank you for that.
but I think that's everything. I actually don't know for sure what's gonna happen with the energy, but I think you're more aware of that than I am.
That hasn't really
Contract
been
doesn't
discussed
quite
right now.
Specify
Yeah.
that right now.
I don't see how we can lose on this deal.
Nope.
Okay, any unintended consequences you can think of? I've not been able to see any in the last couple of
No.
as
years.
far as termination, if we say we're done, then we're done, is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
termination,
that's good. I was gonna bring that
I
up.
can take a look here.
And we do have the option at the end of the pilot to purchase the unit.
Oh,
And
That's
some of that will be offset by carbon credits. The other, I've got 2 grants in the pipeline to pay for the purchase of that unit if we decide to purchase that unit.
how much are those units?
They usually run around 250,
Okay.
but with the carbon credits, ours would probably come down to close to about 125, I think. But yeah, so there's a couple different opportunities we have to get some grant funding to pay for it.
All right, termination is not just a at-will termination. So I'm guessing Qnergy has to get some type of return on their investment. So to terminate,
I would think so.
there would have to be some failings, and there's a list of things that if Qnergy fails to do certain things, and it's pretty comprehensive. I have reviewed it and am comfortable with those conditions, but if, for instance, if they just fail to perform any of their obligations, or if there's even a force majeure event, like something that's outside of all of our control, earthquake damages the whole facility, things like that, we can get out with notice. There's plenty of other options where we can terminate that I think cover most of the anticipated risks. So, yeah, acts of God, as others might call it, depending on your perspective on things.
Okay, questions, Commissioner?
It's great.
Questions,
It's
Commissioner?
really
No,
exciting.
I'm good.
Okay,
Like it.
let's
I
go
will
ahead, put
get
that
this
on the
your-
agenda.
It'll be on next week's agenda.
Okay, great, thank you. Mr. Quinney, thank you.
Thanks, Tony.
Thanks, Brandon.
Qnergy is wonderful to work with. They were
That's,
so good when we were
wow, what a good
negotiating this.
community partner.
I'll say.
I don't use paper anymore, Jim.
Oh.
How long has it been since you?
In primary, it's been about 50 years. Okay, we're back. Thank you. We're on our discussion regarding the C&D landfill. Mr. Wilkinson, Mr. Erickson, and William George is not here.
It's okay. We can
Okay.
take care of this. He's downstairs taking care of everything, so.
Okay, great.
Commissioners,
You've been passed out a cooperative agreement. Go ahead.
yes, Ogden City has contacted us and they are asking us to sign a cooperative agreement, which enables them to use our C&D landfill to dispose of whatever waste they might have that would qualify to be taken out there. So their purchasing department is requiring them to have this agreement in place before they use the facility. So that's really all it is. They'll pay the going rate and this is on your agenda tomorrow, so we wanted you to have a heads up that it was there.
Commissioner Frohr, this is in your portfolio. What do you have to say about it?
We've talked about this before. Well, I wasn't aware that Ogden City needed
It came through their purchasing department. They said, we have to have this signed in order to use your facility and we want to use it, so.
Well, what's their name shut down too, didn't they? Your buddy out there on Midland, West Midland or East Midland.
Recycled earth. I don't know. I don't know
if they
what's
shut
going
down
on
or
there.
not.
Yeah, that's a good question. But this would be street sweepings or other types of construction or demolition.
So where are they taking it now?
I don't know.
They were taking it to recycled earth.
Is that,
That's what I was
Maybe
told.
they-
his
maybe
name Rossum.
Yeah,
Yeah,
You're talking about Rossum.
recycled earth, Rawson, same thing.
that may be where it was going previously, but yes, they
I
are,
think you're I just wondered why all of a sudden now they're
yeah, they're
interested in ours.
coming to us.
Okay,
Happy to take them as a customer.
Sure.
that makes sense.
But that's really all it is. There's no
Yeah.
obligation on the county other than we let them use our facility, which they could do anyway without this.
Yeah, I say they don't really need
No,
that agreement.
They must need it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we don't need it.
we don't need it.
Yeah.
But,
Let them do it. Let them do it.
Okay, you fine with that?
Sure.
Yeah,
Commissioner
good
Bolos?
idea.
Great,
Why not?
have direction.
all right, it's on your consent.
Mr. Erickson,
agenda
any
tomorrow.
comment?
Is that on consent?
Tomorrow.
It's on consent tomorrow.
Okay.
That's easy. Thank you.
Okay, just like that. What are we talking about? I'll take a motion to saunter for 10 minutes.
So move, Mr. Chair.
Second.
All in favor?
10 minutes.
Aye, we're sauntering. Thank you. You know, we're here with the best comptroller in the land and the best assessor in the land, Scott Park and John Ulibarri. Fantastic gentlemen. Mr. Ulibarri,
Thank you
you
very
want to talk to us about this regarding a budget adjustment?
Yes, I would come respectfully requesting a budget adjustment from the county commission. We're currently undergoing a conversion process from our current camera system, which is called RealWare, to a new camera system called Puma. The conversion process is not moving as quickly as we anticipated. When I spoke to the folks at the camera vendor, they said, oh, it'll take a month. And we started back in August and, you know, clearly we're more than a month away. I think part of the problem is the other counties that they had converted, they just didn't check their data to see if it converted correctly. They had so many issues and they have a lot less data to go through. Or our team is making sure that we are converting the data correctly from the beginning, so we're not going through and trying to catch and fix the mistakes later. So that's the reason essentially why it's taking us a lot longer. Our chief concern here, and this is the reason that we're requesting the budget adjustment, is we may not be able to close the roll on time. And even if we did, we may not be able to produce the quality of roll that we anticipate or we expect out of Weber County. Not closing the roll well creates a whole bunch of issues for, first and foremost, for our customers. If we do it incorrectly, it'll generate a lot more appeals, which it creates a certain amount of angst for the general public when they have to go up against the government. They don't feel comfortable doing that. And it you know, costs us a lot more money because it does cost us a certain amount of money per appeal that we process. And so we want to avoid that if we possibly can. And so the request is we renew the software maintenance agreement to the tune of $62,080, and that would be for 4 quarters. We're expecting the conversion to be finished in June, so we wouldn't have to pay 3rd and 4th quarter maintenance, but we don't know. We're asking for that leeway right now. That is just in case.
So what's the request per quarter?
It's, you want me to do math? It's 15,000.
Okay, so
It's
roughly 15,000 a quarter.
Yeah, $15,520 a quarter is what it comes out to be.
Well, Commissioner Froer?
Well, so is this due to a software issue or a personnel issue?
This is a software issue. Well, if you can call it a personnel issue, we run a really lean office.
Hugely.
We're, you know, if we were to compare to others similarly sized counties, probably have 3 or 4 more people.
Okay.
And we do that
Yeah,
deliberately.
That's kind of how we do things at Weber County.
Yep.
More with less. Yeah, just so you know.
I didn't thank you.
Well, so what you're saying is we don't have to do a full year. If we can get things uploaded and in 2 quarters, we can end it for 30,000 versus 60,000.
Correct.
Okay.
That's what we're anticipating.
I'm all right with that, Mr. Chair.
Scott?
I was just gonna say, you know, we were converting the data and John, to his credit, came and said, I want 2 quarters. And I said, ask for 4, because my fear was,
Wow.
well,
Come on, that's.
the reason why is I want him to be able to run this system and eventually get this system that they're installing now to mirror the results that they're gonna get with their RealWare system that they're gonna pay for one more time. And that may take, if they finally get the conversion done in June, that I still want them to spend time to go back and proof the data to make sure that the new system is working. So when the year rolls around the next time, that they can rely on it. And so that's why I said, do it for, and again, if it gets done and the reconciliation, everything's done before that, then we don't have to pay for it. But that's why I said I'd rather get the software installed right and done right the first time with one-time money than have this become an ongoing thing, because now we have to either roll back to the old system or we have to run a dual for 2 years or whatever. So that's why, but I think it's necessary. I don't think we want to risk not having the rules accurate. I think the consequence of that is far more than what we would be spending to do it right.
And do we have the money in our budget to do it?
We do.
Okay,
Okay, I'll
I'm
go
good.
back to you, Commissioner
I'm
Bolt.
good with it.
Great. That's 3 yeses.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Okay, I will put this through the KISS flow system. You'll see it pop up in your email shortly.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks, John.
you're very welcome. If you guys need anything, please let me know.
Just annex part of Davis County.
There's 1 house in Davis County and part in.
Well, it
and
has
some
to be, it
streets.
has to be a peninsula. It can't be an island.
Oh, okay, I guess we can
There'll have to be several
Figure that
houses,
out.
Yeah.
probably 3 houses, likely.
I don't know, if you annex the street right, you can just go up the street
Take
boundary.
the whole
I'm sure.
street, yeah. We'll talk to your neighbors.
Thank you, everybody. I
Tell
appreciate
them to come
it.
into Weaver County.
Yeah. So, by the way, Scott,
Sir.
so what would happen in a situation
some, I don't think I really need some, feedback or answers, but, some important things that will need, definite, addressing sooner or later. So it's, some of it's just put on your radar. Chief Perry, wanted to come today about,
Some agenda items.
for
Tomorrow's
tomorrow.
commission meetings.
So we'll start off with Chief Perry and then I'll finish with a few items. So,
First thing is just the second reading of the animal control ordinance, so.
That's a good one.
That should be on there, so. Great. And then, two other items. There's a law that will require all law enforcement agencies by January of next year to have an early intervention program that allows us to track officer behavior and certain factors and then give us notification, hopefully to intervene before we get into the big incidents that create that liability. So we've,
How do you intervene in between its go time and when that all goes down?
So,
Cause that gets, it goes from 0 to 100, like.
yeah, but
Behavior leading up to that.
yeah, so it looks at a bunch of, you can set your criteria, but you can look at a bunch of different factors. So you can look at complaints, the complaints that are coming in. You can look at, different coaching notes and things that are written ahead of time. You can track time cards, right? You can track some of that information being reported, just track some of those things to hopefully get ahead. One of the terms I like is to try to, identify problems lying in wait before they become problems, right? So kind of get those clues of individuals that maybe need additional training or maybe need additional, you look at critical incidents, you look at near misses. I think that's a great example. Paying attention to near misses, the slip and fall out on the ice. Somebody comes in and they have a near miss where they didn't fall and they didn't get hurt, but we make sure that information gets up the chain so we can go out and remedy the problem before somebody does slip and fall and does cause a serious incident. And so I think when you translate that analogy into law enforcement, it's trying to look at those factors earlier that may be an indicator in an excessive use of force case or a violation of policy and get ahead of those earlier before you get a serious one. And so the state did set aside some money for the funding of that. We looked at a few different programs. We found a company that we really like. There's aspects that they're gonna bring in addition to this early warning system that we like about it. We're gonna be able to go completely online with our complaint system, which is gonna allow us. So what we'll do is we'll put a link onto our website that people can file a complaint. And then what I really like on the back end, everything that I like about this program is the accessibility and functionality on the back end of what we can do as an administration to pull information on the back end. So when a citizen wants to file a complaint with this new program, everything will go online, and then there's a workflow system, if you will, that we can send it through the office, track the progress, and have everything online, so we can have better reporting and tracking on the back end of complaints. How many did we get? How many of this type? How did we respond to those? Right now, a lot of it's paper, and some of that gets lost. So our tracking is at 100%. Also, the use of force system, they have a use of force system where we'll do all of our use of force incidents in this program. And what I really like about this program is that back end accessibility for the administration on the use of force. We'll have the ability to really track different factors on use of force, type of force used, different demographics of the individuals involved in the use of force. We'll be able to pull that information. The system that we're using right now doesn't give us a lot of back end accessibility, if that makes sense. It's really hard for us as administration to go in and pull stats and data, to go back over a year and pull our use of force for the year. And so this will be really good moving forward for that. There is a grant. We got a grant through the state for the financing of year one. We did fund, the commission funded money for this year over year in the budget. We funded initially during the budget $30,000. This program is going to be $10,000. We did already get approved for a grant for $10,000 in year one. State doesn't know if there's going to be rollover into year 2 or 3 because it's year one funding to get the program started. We did add a second module to our request. It's an FTO tracker program.
that we will use to track the training of our FTOs when we're training them, and will give us kind of the same really good backside accessibility. That program is 5,000 year over year. So total we're 15,000 year over year versus the 30,000 that we asked for in the budget. In year one, we have $10,000 to offset the early intervention program. So any questions?
No, I just think it might be well as a backstop to check ongoing funding with Scott Park and.
Yeah.
Or how you'd fund that. This is in your portfolio, Commissioner Bolos? Questions or anything, comments?
I don't think so.
So just to clarify, the commission did approve
Oh,
year
that's
over
right.
year funding
30,000.
of 30,000.
Right.
This total is gonna be 15,000 year over year, so there's gonna be a savings there
Great.
based on what was put in the budget. There's grant for the first year, so there's additional savings in year
So
one.
you'll be able to turn that back in.
Plus, we think we're gonna be able to streamline some of our other programs, at least one program that we're using that's currently $5,000 year over year. So we expect to see a savings of an additional $5,000.
Even makes you better.
Yeah, so-
Appreciate that. That's
good work.
awesome.
Yeah, good.
All right, anything
I like
else, chief? No. Sheriff?
All right, thank you. Currently, it's just a lot right now going on, but we're good. Staffing levels currently on paper, there's 9 down in enforcement, 19 down in corrections, and 7 in civilian.
You got a new enforcement guy. Tell him about him.
Oh,
How did you even snag him?
Chief Perry's
I
better.
did.
Chief,
Wow.
you want to share that one?
No, so our new hire is an individual by the name of Gary Jensen. Gary and I worked together at Davis County years ago. He left Davis County. He started before he went to Davis County. He worked for a couple other local police departments in Davis County and then spent a good portion of his career at Davis County, probably 15 plus years there. And I knew him there. Very well respected, went from sergeant at Davis County to the chief of Vernal. Was the chief of Vernal for 4 or 5 years and then accepted the chief job at Logan, the Logan Police Chief for 13 years. Retired.
That's a lot of experience.
Yeah.
A lot of chiefing.
Retired, was out of law enforcement. I'm trying to remember the text he sent me. He said, I'm trying to remember, give me a whole list of things. I remodeled my house. I built a shed. I helped my son remodel his house. I've done a bunch of woodworking projects and now I'm bored. I think I want to come back to work and just be a line level guy and.
Really?
And he was,
Line level?
yeah, and he was one of those individuals that I think, Sheriff can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's relatively rare to see individuals that 20 plus years that really have a passion for the line level job, right?
Does he live
Going
here?
out and doing, he's,
Oh,
yeah,
so
When he was introducing himself, I'm like, is this for real?
so.
That's a
wow,
lot of experience.
Yeah.
it
Anyway,
was a good
sorry to
people,
interrupt,
so,
but I thought that was
good
cool.
job.
Yeah,
Way to recruit.
a lot of it had to do.
You're not gonna go to work for Sarah for the Jazz too, if you're gonna be recruiting like that.
Yeah. Just don't talk to Sarah Swan.
Yeah, she's off limits.
So anyway, yeah, 9 down in enforcement, 19 in enforcement. This,
19 in corrections,
sorry, 19 in corrections.
just listening.
Thank you. 7 civilian, and keep in mind, this is after we gave up 11 positions in corrections and 5 in enforcement. For what some people have said as a market adjustment, which was not correct. It's for a compression issue and to help with pay where we gave up those positions, you guys recall last year. So there's some struggles. We're getting work done, but we wish we could get more of the work done. You guys are familiar with the flooding issues and the grants, the declaration through feds. Lisa's contacted you on that. Okay, so I'm not gonna go over that. The dates. CSI gave a report this morning or this afternoon in our command staff that I thought was interesting, worth sharing. They said this has been their biggest year, but yet their lowest in calls, I think is what Sandy said. We had 18 homicides total in the county. doubled in last year, I think she said.
18?
However, 18, however, but they've had the lowest call volume of 1,400 call outs. And so they're less calls, but a lot more
Serious.
serious calls, and they're noticing an increase like we all are in law enforcement, even though sometimes our call volume may be stagnant or go down, but the work that's required of us, as you guys know, especially Gage, as laws get passed, require law enforcement to do more work, and she was thinking like blood splatter, the challenge with that, chemical analysis, they're just doing more and more in CSI, so the workload is getting more and more. All right, number 4, investigations. I had a report. They have 424 active cases, and what was interesting is the most cases they have, 30% are child and sex. And so they have, and so be prepared. We're doing our own analysis and working with other agencies to determine we might have to create another position for that. That's just getting out of control. With ICAC, International Crimes Against Children, that's just expanding at an exponential rate. And we have one officer that's dedicated for that. And it's a lot of it's online internet. And it's a technical savvy position. And I think that's something that we're going to probably, if not through the summer, probably at budget, we may ask for a position for that, which is typically a county-wide position.
Sheriff, do you coordinate with the state on that? Because
Yes,
I know I oversaw.
they do fund some of that
Okay,
position.
yeah.
So we'll, like I said, no answer.
All right.
We're not asking.
Yeah.
This is a radar thing. We'll put a proposal together and with all those things, this is just,
Heads up.
yeah, I mean, this is more of an emotional type comment, but it really does. It goes to the heartstrings. When you talk about victims, the victims that don't have a voice, right? These are the ones that are the hardest to deal with.
Yeah.
And so we got to take care of them the best we can. All right, schools. This is a House bill that Gage, I know that you're the most fond of. I've been working with Wilcox and we've gone back and forth. I've encouraged him to speak to you specifically to
I've
understand.
talked to him twice now.
So at one point, and they've said they've got their person appointed. We've got to have this coordinator, they're calling it, for the sheriff's office. We have 58 schools in our county that's
Does that
either
include private and?
private, charter, public, not home schools.
Fortunately, that's not included in the list that we have to provide security
Now,
for.
there's been some addendums, and so this is the part, again, I'm just letting you know what the discussion is. This is something that's a challenge that we're trying to sort out. Chief Perry can speak a little more to this because this affects his division. But they're talking about armed individuals in these schools, volunteers. And we're talking about vets and others and then who's going to provide the training. So we're talking up to, if they get the number of schools and how many volunteers and the parents and who all this, best case, or in some terms, worst case, it could be up to 300 and 400 people carrying guns or authorized to carry guns in the schools for the children. And so who's going to train them? So the discussion is the sheriff's office. So that's a lot of time and resource. It's just not someone that we can just throw in with the sheriff's office. That's a lot of time. We're trying to get the numbers and the hours to put together to see what that's going to need, what that's going to look like, who's going to do it just yet. But we already spend each deputy in our office just on the firearms training alone is around 4 to 8 hours every year for each deputy that carries a firearm, which is roughly 250, 300 of us ish. You know, and then you throw in an occasional commissioner that wants to do firearms training with us, you know, which is
That's
obviously okay.
I'm saying that's actually a little bit of a low number when you consider rifle recertification.
Rifle, yeah, rifle
That's
and all
just for
that,
the handgun.
just
So-
handgun.
So when you're doing rifle recertification, that's another 8-hour day every year, so you're 16.
And I don't want my tone to come across by any means that we don't want to do it. It's just that hesitation of saying, okay, what does this look like and how it is? And then obviously coming to the commission saying, hey, we need help funding with this. What's that gonna look like? And then we also know when the legislation puts a mandate and it's unfunded, you know, it's up to this group to solve that problem. So we just hope that we can all work together with Wilcox and the legislature to find out a solution. So just a heads up.
Wow.
So that's where it's headed right now. And then also, we are definitely gonna need 2 new school positions by
Oh, yeah.
the summer because of Westfield and Mountain View. So,
Are those full-time?
yeah,
The junior highs are, they don't split. I didn't know that.
it's, yeah, but the elementaries within the year, the junior high and high school will sometimes appear. But that's where the coordinators
Mountain
coming
View
in
is the new
effect.
one, right?
Yeah.
In West Haven.
So heads up,
Okay. We'll just
please,
back onto that.
please chime in.
So there is a bill to this, the school thing, that has options for how those positions will be, how that security position will be filled, as the sheriff said, and one of them is volunteers, one of them is if school can reach out to hire private individuals or private security company. You can contract with your local police department, but in every scenario, the bill, if it passes, will mandate that the sheriff's office and that lieutenant position that was already passed in the last bill that we have to have will be responsible for the training. So no matter what the school chooses to do, whether they decide to train volunteers or train parents or to hire a private security company, that position that we have to have will be responsible, back to what the sheriff was saying, will be responsible for training all those individuals. And that's the way it looks. If that bill passes, we'll still be responsible at a minimum for that training and the coordination of that.
So I understand. So that's another cost.
So with all this excitement of bearing good news of this, I could see your enthusiasm. I've got one more that you guys will enjoy. Jail.
Just when you thought it was safe to go outside.
Yes.
Okay.
So the jail situation, as you are all aware, the bond was defeated. There is an urgency that we do something. Something meaning just a Band-Aid is probably not gonna work, but we're meeting with the architect this Thursday to see if we can look at this thing as a phase, right? Rather than, we'll just say 98 million as how it coordinates with the original bond. So we're looking at converting the booking and release as maybe that's the medical and mental health. How would that look? What's that cost gonna be? So obviously it's not gonna be 98, but it's gonna be substantially less. And to the voters and to the public, yeah, we're not gonna ask for 98, but maybe it's gonna be 30 million. And then we're gonna come back again in a couple of years, 5 years, and it's gonna be another 10 or 20 million for something else. We just don't know yet. But the urgency is the medical and mental health. Commissioners Bolos and Harvey have come over recently to do a walkthrough with me to see some of it. You're next. I'm gonna reach out to you.
Okay.
Just so you can talk about it and see it.
Okay.
Today, we have 25 mental health cases that are taking up 40 beds in our general housing.
Huh.
Just so you can, so when you look at may I? You guys need those numbers up there?
No.
They probably won't come off.
Yeah. They've been there.
They've been here since I've been here.
I want something that I can write on. I think that's Broncos.
I think it's.
It's been there since Broncos here.
I'll use black. Okay, so you,
You can erase
You
that
can
other
try
if
to
you want.
erase it.
well, that's the thing. Where's the eraser?
It's-
Underneath
Is
this.
this it?
Yeah.
Right there.
It's not gonna come off,
Yeah, maybe.
no way.
All right,
It's
well,
probably-
we'll make it work. So as you guys know, this is roughly a pod, and then you have that central, and then there's these sections within the pod, right?
Yeah.
And in Delta Pod right now, there is 16 rooms, if you will, that will hold 32 people, right? So for example, in this section here, we got 16 rooms that hold 32. That's held for 15. We got 15 of those mental health in there. It's taking up the space that could be used for general housing. So if you can imagine, so when someone says, well, you got 888 beds in that main facility, but you say your capacity maxed out at 600 or 650, that capacity is fluid, it fluctuates. It's because of like, and then the Delta 1 section, you guys know, you remember, that's where we house the most serious ones, the murderers, the rapists. You can't put two of them in one, you can only do one per cell, which is a 2-bed. So it's a lot less. So this is the problem with the mental health, is it's rising. As you see, this is why it's taking up so much space. So just wanted to give that out to you. So that's basically what pod looks like. It's divided up. And it's not a pretty picture, but that's where it's at. So yeah, we'll meet with the architecture, hopefully, probably in the next couple of weeks, we'll give you some definitive plans on what we feel is needed to go forward. I reached out to Sean Wilkinson and asked him to get some bids on us on Kiesel facility. To what it's gonna cost if we were to update it. Just so we have that number. I think I forwarded all of you what it would cost to have it demolished. You should have that, just to make sure we have all that information.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing this for. Okay, so we do have ICE that may still be interested. Marshals are still interested in it. We're getting ready to go through a negotiation with the marshals to up their costs with us. Scott,
If the marshals were to use it, would they pay for the upgrades and the updates?
so we could include it just in the daily rate.
Okay.
So the answer is yes,
Is that to bring it fully in compliance with everything?
yes.
Is there no way that can be done?
So my goal, working with you, my goal is to, if we bring in another group, an outside agency, I think someone like the marshals or ICE or whoever that is, that the burden of that facility to operate in that fashion should not be upon our taxpayers. Right? It just shouldn't.
Agree with that, yeah.
So
Yeah.
put it on them. If they don't want it, we don't want it, we don't want them.
I'd like to follow up that one.
Yes. But we'll see. I don't know what those costs are to upgrade it, but Wilkinson's is having some individuals go through and see what those costs will be. I can't think if I have anything else on jail. Is there anything that you think I'm missing on any of this as far as urgency? Okay,
Good presentation, thank you.
and simple, quick, short.
We like that.
What can we do for you?
5 minutes left.
And we also got in early. too.
Well,
That's very nice.
You'll find that things are running a little more efficient this year.
Oh, I do want to end on a good note. I want to end on a cost savings note.
Oh, my God.
This Friday, lean system class starts.
Yep, at noon.
So let's
Do you have
get,
people sign up?
yeah, we
for
got
the-
several from the sheriff's
You got
office.
people-
But from outside your office, do you?
Exciting.
I don't know what,
Ricky
Hatch has got several. I've heard other agencies gonna commit. So I just think as the
It's right over
commission,
here.
yeah,
That's happening here.
having here, I think the commission and your portfolios, I think probably an email to your department heads encouraging, because this is what we should be doing,
Absolutely.
right? So when we all return report to the public, what are you doing to save money?
That's a great idea.
It's exactly what we're doing. So. Okay,
Anybody from the attorney's office?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm convinced that there are people think that this will not work for them,
For sure.
That's a fantastic
but
thing.
everybody it works. You can always find a way to lean stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Even departments.
Okay.
I gotta go hit the head.
Women department support.
we've got you on our special projects committee again this year, so
Yes.
we'll be inviting you back to those meetings.
Yes, thank you.
FYI, so
Okay,
troubleshoot your phase development.
yes, we need that. Thank you. Do you have anything for me?
I think we're good.
Easy peasy.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. See you tomorrow.
after all that flowery presentation. Mr. Brooks, since you're listed first here on this, I know you've had a brief chance to talk with Ms. Russell, our Economic Development Director. If you'd introduce the folks with you, and then also state your purpose, and we'll have an open discussion here for the next 30-45 minutes.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Jim. I appreciate it, Commissioner Harvey. I'm glad you didn't tell any false stories like you usually start out with. I do appreciate that.
Steve and I have known each other for multiple decades.
Yes, we have. Yes, we have.
And
I'll
most of
go
the
ahead.
stories I have about him are true.
Yeah.
So just so you know.
Yeah. Let's just go around the table. We got people from Riverdale. We got them from all over the place here. Even Roy, we've got Roy here. Mayor Dandoy, I believe, will be joining us.
Great.
So, because some of this affects him and their city, so I asked him to come as well. So Mike, why don't you go ahead and
Yeah,
start?
Mike, I get on the Riverdale City Community Development Director.
Jake Tate with AWA, the civil engineer representing America First Credit Union.
Jeff Randall with AWA.
I'm D Hans with JRH Company with America First, but actually came to hang out with Steve here.
Steve Brooks with Riverdale City.
Matt Andrews, Roy City Manager.
Gary Myers, Weaver County Engineer.
Sean Wilkinson, Weaver County Community Development Director.
Stephanie Russell, Weaver County Economic Development Director.
And the three of you want to introduce yourselves again?
Sure, I'm Tammy Gallegos with America First Credit Union. I'm Executive Vice President and Chief Marketing Officer.
And I'm Kim Chill with America First Credit Union. And Sarah Tolliver with Visit Ogden, but here because of the Chamber's Legislative Affairs Committee Chair and the Northern Utah Chamber of Coalition.
She wears a lot of hats. The best convention visitors bureau person in the whole land, and I'm talking of the United States, not.
She is good, and I apologize to Sarah and the others who have heard our presentation before. This will be her third round, I think, with us. But, I did ask her to be here. We're looking for any support at this point. As you all know, Riverdale City is Riverdale City. When Jim and I were growing up, there was nothing down there. It's completely different now, but this particular area we're talking about, we refer to as our West Bench. It's one of the last areas of property in Riverdale that can still be developed. And this has just gone crazy in this last year.
Hold on. Gary, can you drive, or Sean, you're here?
Yeah.
I'd like the commissioners to be able to see where this is.
What do you need to do? You need to.
I want you to go to a map.
Yeah, just pull up some.
In fact, just click on this.
Yep.
Well, there you go.
No, that's not it.
But you can zoom out.
Yeah, you're up in the mountains. Down to
south.
There it is.
Going.
Thank you.
Oh,
No, that's
further south, there's the
Perfect.
airport.
Appreciate it.
Right there.
There you go.
So this area here in the West Bench, there's two ways to get in and out. There's Riverdale Road and there's 4400. 4400 is not a real big and wide road at this particular point. And Jake, and then we'll cover a lot of this, but UDOT is actually in the process right now of replacing some bridges. The one bridge goes over I-15 and the other bridge goes under 84, heading down 4400. So you can see if we fill up that whole triangle area full of people, and you know, when America First came in and told us about this, initially there was somebody else who owned a lot of this property. And they ended up coming in and buying him out and then took over, and they decided to start consolidating a lot of their operations up there on the West Bench. Well, when they say we're gonna bring in 5,000 jobs, all of a sudden we're getting really nervous because 5,000 jobs means at least 5,000 people. And how are we gonna get them in and out of there? And so that's where we started getting really nervous. Then when UDOT came to us and said, we're gonna replace those bridges, but we're gonna replace them with the exact same bridges that are there. Now we're in full panic mode because those bridges aren't big enough, especially on 4400. The ones going under 84 it's way too small. And the one going over I-15, which ironically, on the east side of I-15 is unincorporated Weaver County property. That's not even Riverdale's at this particular point. That's your guys's. And I know you've tried to give that to us
At this
many a
particular
times.
point.
Now's your chance.
I know,
Very
he's gonna force me to take that, whether I want it or not. But all things being said here, some of the proposals that we're looking at, we need that bridge even longer than it is. And the kind of numbers that UDOT's throwing up, there is just no way that Riverdale can handle this. I mean, we couldn't handle most of this development. We've got to add in a new sewer line down to 44, that covers this whole west bench down 4,400, down to the river almost. So we'll have to tear up that whole road anyway. And so if we start tearing up that road and then you got that narrow bridge under 84, you basically shut 4,400 down. Now, those of you who are familiar with the area, most of Weber County out on the western side, they either come down 4,400 or they come down Riverdale Road on the southern end. So if one or the other of that gets plugged up or even bottlenecked to some degree, you're gonna see massive, massive traffic jams and problems right there. So this is why we're coming. We're reaching out to anybody and everybody. We've reached out to the county. We've met with pretty much everybody. We're starting to meet with some legislators and stuff, trying to see if we can find some funding to do this whole project right, to make sure it works for everybody and just make it a better thing in the end. One of the things is on the southern part, just about half that, if you cut that piece in half, the southern part is an RDA that we started a while ago, but it's small. And so
Can
there's.
you go up there and show us
Yeah.
when you say the southern half? What about where?
Jake, you got the.
Yeah, where do you want?
Where the RDA is about where the.
Okay, the RDA and
The tree line.
Yeah,
Oh, the
right
tree
here.
line.
right there,
Yeah.
yeah. So everything south there is an RDA.
And includes on the other side of Riverdale Road.
Right, a little bit on the other side where that Larry H. Muir.
So it doesn't include the area where the existing corporate America First Center
No,
is correctly?
no,
Correct.
Okay.
it does not.
You know where we're at.
But
Okay,
the,
you know
the
where we're at.
problem with that RDA, when we initially began that, there's some power lines that cut right through there. There's a power station, if you guys have driven that road there, and it angles right through that property. So it pretty much made that property developable with those big power lines there, the big massive ones. So we did the RDA with the idea of moving those. And so it basically just covers that. It's not very big. It's about $9 million. And then it included some water lines and different infrastructure, things like that. That is one of the possibilities we might have to look at, is expanding that RDA and making it larger. We've crunched numbers and America First, I'm sure, has got some, but just the difference in what you will get from, because this is all bare ground for the most part right now, in just property tax values is going to be shocking for the county and for everybody really as time goes on, you know.
You
But
have
it's-
specific numbers for shocking?
I ran some tax increment differentials.
Thank you.
The 9 million, I took the 9 million budget that Riverdale City had run previously based on what was planned here originally versus what America First is now planning here. And over that 17-year, we're talking, instead of a $9 million budget, we're talking $60-70 million budget. I mean, it's America First over the next 15 years plans to put about $1 billion in development into this property.
Now, I had heard the original number when this was brought to us 2 or 3 years ago, that number was 2 billion.
That's only the RDA piece I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The north piece that's off the RDA is another billion to get to the 2 number.
Okay, thanks.
So $1 billion's on the RDA property, $1 billion's off the RDA property.
Appreciate the
Yeah,
clarification.
yeah. So we're trying to keep the 2, because they.
What's the length of your current RDA?
We haven't even
Hasn't been
triggered it. We'll
triggered
trigger
yet.
it this year.
You
And
haven't
it's,
triggered
It was
No.
extended.
Yeah,
Okay.
But
Do you
it-
remember what we extended it to?
17,
years.
it's a 17-year one,
At what?
17,
We have 17 years, but what was the
9 million.
It was.
What's
It's
the
the
rate?
budget.
rate?
Oh,
Oh, I don't know
I
about
just,
that.
I
Do you
just
know?
asked
I don't know if I have that
I just
right.
asked our accountant to send it.
I don't have the rate, yeah, I remember what it was.
Okay,
But that's just for the smaller part down here. We also have the bigger thing, including that massive sewer line that we weren't planning on either, that we're gonna have to run up through there. But anyway, that kind of gives you an idea where Riverdale sits with this. We would like to, I mean, America First has always been good to us. There's no questions about it. So when they came to us and said, look, we need some help. We're gonna need some on and off ramps there at Riverdale and I-15. We went to them immediately and said, we need some help with this. And UDOT kind of was shocked that we would even request that, but it's actually on some of their preliminary designs now. So some of this stuff's gonna happen as we had asked for. The bridges is a new one. It's just got laid on us in November, and it's the most pressing because of time. They want to have this on the drawings by fall, wasn't it, Jeff? October.
They want to put it out to bid in October.
And so that's why we're going to the legislature and different other sources to try and put the brakes on that or slow it down somehow so we can get these done right and get them a little bit bigger and extended. Because they won't accommodate what's there, especially it's, in fact, Jake can cover some of this, but the traffic engineer that studied some of this said that Riverdale Road is like within 5 years of meeting its capacity. And so if we take any traffic off of 4400, it's not 5 years, it's this year that Riverdale Road would meet its capacity. We're already there. And so we can't afford to put more pressure on Riverdale Road. So you can kind of see the dilemma we have. That's probably all I'll say, unless you have some more questions. I'll turn it over to Jake because they have some more. Did you bring your whole presentation and stuff? So if that's okay,
Please.
Commissioner.
And if you jump on the Zoom link, you can share that screen.
Okay.
Well, maybe you're on it now.
So I will share this.
But as I said, one of the things, even Roy's gonna have to look at possibly an expansion, that 4400 going up there in front of the airport and the road that goes down by the airport. All these are gonna be impacted by this.
Well, you'd think Ogden City unfortunately would be sitting here at the table as well, because if they do what they said they're gonna do with that airport, this would impact them as well.
We met with Ogden City a couple of weeks ago, so they're aware of it. We had the same
Who did you
presentation that we
meet with?
gave.
Mara.
Mara,
Okay,
the
and her-
city manager, and they had a bunch of other people there.
Yeah, they
Okay,
had they quite a few, they were talking about adding about 1,000 jobs and more development, different things out there at the airport, so.
Okay, thanks, Steve. So, as we discussed, America First originally, Jeff and I have been working for America First for probably 15 or so years. And this concept of a corporate campus here has been kind of bubbling in the background ever since. And over the years, they've kind of consolidated all the property there to where now they own everything basically that's developable between Riverdale Road and 4400. And we've got to the point where we're ready to move forward. And what we're showing you right here is the first building. This is the actual building that is under design right now. And this will be the corporate headquarters of the first of potentially 10 buildings, or a 1.5 million square feet of office building that they're proposing up here. We're working with a local firm, GSPS, as our architects, and we brought in a landscape architect out of Denver, Civitas, who is putting together an amazing campus here. And we do truly see this as a campus, not a separate set of 10 buildings, but one cohesive whole when it's all built. And we're designing it that way so that there's a community feel. And this is a view of what it is going to look like. These are the actual buildings. This is kind of the planters are where they're going to be. And this is kind of the community they're trying to build, where the employees can come out and interact with this. It's the main street that we call it isn't necessarily going to be a vehicular main street, but it's going to be a pedestrian where you can interact. They can bring in food trucks. They can come out here and spend some time and actually enjoy being out of the office and then not necessarily needing to leave campus. It's going to be a great situation. So this picture here, we're basically hovering over Riverdale Road, looking to the northwest. The first building, the existing campus, if you're familiar, the old Big D building sits right about here where the corporate office is now. This first building and this parking structure are under design right now. You can see this is a full design campus, and this is what we call the South Village. And this is that first billion that we talked about. There's another 5 buildings that sit north here where this white kind of U-shaped building is. The other 5 buildings will sit up here. The intent is to bring in a retail corridor along 1500 West. You can see we have a hotel in the background. We are planning on bringing in a hotel. We have several users that have already expressed their desire to go there. We have one of the big 2 most likely will be coming in. You can see Tesla, if you're familiar with what's going on. Tesla's putting an auto dealership right here. Currently, they're under construction. You'll be able to buy your car online and come pick it up here. If you have any minor services required, you'll come here and bring it up here. And this is only the second Tesla in this state of Utah. So
it's gonna be sales and, this is important,
yes,
and service?
That's correct.
Okay,
It's a 50,000 square foot building with a majority of that dedicated to service area, where they don't really do on-site sales. There might be some used car sales if I remember correctly, but most of this, you buy it online, you pick it up here. And then the new Maverick that just went in, if you're familiar, and ASU is actually gonna put a new branch here. They took the branch away 10 years ago. How long ago did the branch go away from campus? A while?
A while.
Yeah, so we're bringing a new branch, so we'll have a branch right here. It's gonna be exciting, but you can see this is an all-encompassing master plan for this area.
So go back, so Cozy Dale Lane would be at the top of the picture, that new, I just went on that road this Saturday to check things
Yeah,
out.
this is 1,500.
That's the new road, yeah.
It's not open yet, Commissioner. Are you trespassing or what?
It is open, as a matter of fact. I'm quite a rule keeper as opposed to what I remember, but yes,
Okay,
don't go down that road too far. I still remember.
So if we flip the camera around, now we're hovering over I-15, looking back towards Riverdale and Riverdale Road. You can see the hotel here in the foreground, Tesla dealership right here. And you can see that the extensive landscaping that we're putting in, that like AFCU is really trying to make this a place where people want to be, where we've got trees, we've got areas of shade, places people can be, and you can kind of see the repetitive pattern. What they're trying to do, this used to be an orchard, as many of you who grew up here are familiar with. We're trying to bring a little bit of that orchard feel back to kind of give it some homage to its roots, I guess you could say. And you can see this whole corridor along 1,500 now, all the way through here, actually, yeah, is gonna be retail restaurants, potentially some retail users, maybe a professional office for a dentist or a medical office. This whole corridor here will have some retail, maybe a retail sales area, but we're working on those once we get the ground laid for this phase one. Really exciting. Here's another looking to the south down Main Street, where all these buildings will kind of come to a confluence. And one thing I like is even the parking structures America First is making look really nice. These two structures here, they're not just big slabs of concrete. They're clad in steel. They're gonna have grading. They're gonna have painted metal siding on them. They're potentially gonna have photovoltaic cells on the entire roof to generate its own power. I mean, they're really going top notch on this, and I'm excited. This is one of the projects you dream about having as an engineer, where you're budget conscious, but you're more concerned about creating an environment, and it's been a pleasure to be on this one. And here's a look again, looking down toward the parking structure. You can see the parking structure here. It doesn't really look like a parking structure, but at least a normal one that you'd see. They're putting glass, all sorts of exciting and a beautiful building that they're putting together. This is a kind of a view hovering over Tesla, looking to the east. And these are the retail shops we talked to you about and how they're going to be incorporated, and the landscaping, the lush landscaping that we're putting all along here is going to be top notch. So this is kind of a concept of all 10 buildings. So the 5 you were looking at were here with the parking structures. This is the North Village here is another 5 buildings to get us to 1.5 million square feet. And that leaves us approximately 11 acres up here on the north end of the site that we still haven't necessarily looked into what we're gonna do. We've talked a little bit about potential multifamily housing, maybe some warehousing, some more retail, but that's,
And affordable housing.
yeah, affordable housing. We realize that that's an important component. And, you know, that actually, ironically enough, that helps the traffic. If you're looking at it from a traffic study standpoint, having housing next to your development actually reduces the amount of trips, because people can live and walk directly to work and be right on campus.
Is that the Motel 6? You still left there?
Yeah, Motel 6 sits right down here. Just
Yeah,
Unless we can get rid of.
You got that?
We are working on
property
that
done
one
yet?
hard. Jimmy, you probably spent many hours up there.
No,
it's a
no, but I used to go
major
get you
headache.
from there, but thank you.
It is a major problem for Riverdale City.
So this is phase one. You can look at, just take a look at that landscaping. I mean, the intricacy and the trees, it's amazing. Then this is an interim phase. So building one's going under design, parking structure one is under design, and then the retail will come in as soon as we can after that. But we're gonna get the backbone utilities in place and then start looking at leasing or selling those pads out to tenants and retailers. One more final look is this is phase one with so this will be ideally in the end of 2025. This will be up and ready to go, maybe early 2026, just depends on how soon we can get under construction. And then one final look at what it looks like on the view. So as far as the money goes, this is what we would like to talk about. So this is the capital investment that America First is looking to put in over the next 15 years to 20 years. And this is those first 5 buildings. And you can see, actually, it might be underneath. You can't really see it there. But if you add all those numbers up, it comes up to just under $900 million. It's like $889 million. And that's only in the RDA area. And after that, when you get in past 2045, the next 5 buildings are easily going to be over $1 to $1.2 billion, which would take it over that $2 billion mark for the full 10 building complex.
So it gives you an idea, the investment that America First is willing and ready to make in this area, because this is where they want their home and they're not leaving. America First is one of the largest credit unions in the entire country. They're stable and secure, and as you know, they've been here for 50 years and they're looking to be here for 50 more. And they're ready to kind of put down their roots and make this their permanent home. One of the big things is it's not just an America First.
I heard something.
Go back to that just for a second.
Yeah, you bet. Let me know if you have any questions. And while you're looking at that, this isn't just an America First deal. This affects Roy, as that Riverdale Road and 4400 corridor helps take people into and out of Roy. It also helps Ogden. In our meeting that we had with Ogden, they talked about bringing in 1,000 jobs just in the airport and the expansion that they want to do there. So we're talking potentially 6,000 jobs in maybe a 2-mile radius where we're going to be dumping people into this area. And we need to figure out ways to get in and out. And as Steve mentioned, UDOT had this bridge plan that they sprung on. Well, I guess they didn't spring on it, but we found out about it in late fall. And they were just going to replace in kind. They just take the bridge out and put it back in the same size. And we kind of pumped the brakes, got in front of them and said, look, we need to think big here because we got a lot of people coming over the next 15 years.
Have you talked to UTA about public transportation?
Yes.
Yeah, we have. I had a
Is
meeting
there
with
a
UTA.
component
Mhm.
built into that? Okay.
Yeah, they talked about making it part of the line that comes down from Hill all the way to the front runner station.
Okay.
And making it a formal stop along the way. And we also talked about having potential, ASU has talked about having this dedicated van service to take people to and from the front runner to their campus. So there, we have looked into some alternates and we are looking forward to it.
Wasn't there, Steve, there was discussion of a trolley as well, wasn't there, with UTA of between this campus and the Northrop, not Northrop,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not trolley, it's a dedicated route though.
Dedicated
They have
route.
a study, and the study's been approved, but they just don't have the funding for a driver and a bus. So the route's been approved and it's backed, yeah.
Yeah, so we definitely are looking to make good decisions now that will benefit us in the future because we know this is coming and we know that the capacity, what UDOT told us is they're not gonna touch that bridge for another 50 to 70 years. So if we're gonna improve it, we need to improve it now. And
That bridge you're just referring to was the one over.
I-15 and under
Riverdale,
84.
that discussion.
Those two on 4400 over I-15 and under 84.
Oh, you mean they're not gonna touch those as far as they?
Once they
Why?
replace them now, they don't wanna touch them again for another 50 years.
Sure.
Yeah,
So go to that other file.
so let's see.
On your infrastructure, is this site infrastructure or external at the site right there?
See,
Sorry, what was that again?
Your infrastructure list, is that site specific or is it external as well?
These are all external and outside of our site, so these are all external areas that need to be improved
Okay.
to support this area in order to bring the utility infrastructure and the transportation infrastructure up to enough to support this kind of growth in the area. This one here of Jake will go into will kind of show a little bit about the transportation. A lot of the transportation side of it, for example, Riverdale Road interchange is planned to become a full interchange. We worked with Wasatch Front, and that's when we met with you about a year and a half ago to talk about that project, and that project's been moved up on their planning. It's on the phase 2 plan now to be moving forward there. Hopefully it gets funded over the next 5-ish years, and really,
Phase 2. Okay.
we need to move it up to phase 1 essentially.
Say the same thing.
It's on phase 2, but the thing that's really accelerated the needs for funds this year in 2024 is the 4400 South project. We thought we had some time to get things like the interchange moved up to phase 1, and then all of a sudden it was, we need a bunch of funding, additional funding for 4400. So Jake can kind of go into some of that discussion up there on 4400.
Yeah, so as you can see here, we've kind of put together an exhibit of the improvements that we're looking to make all throughout the area, and it's a little backwards, sorry. See if I can get it going this way. See,
Click on the little hand up there, Jake. That help
give me
you?
the pen.
There you go.
Okay, so this is a close-up of 4400. These bridges are gonna need to be widened, and what UDOT told us is their budget to replace in kind was $22 million. And they have it funded and they're just starting design. And when we told them about the project that we needed to widen it, they said, we can double the width, so we have 2 lanes in each direction. And then under 84, we'd have 1 lane in each direction, a center lane and 2 edge, I wanna call them medians, but they're shoulders. And then one thing that our traffic engineer proposed was get rid of these roundabouts and put signals here to maximize capacity in the area. It just makes it more efficient when you're dealing with this many ins and outs. And so,
Who would trigger the control of peak hour control on that? Because you're, obviously your peak hours are gonna be morning and AM, PM peaks.
mhm.
Does UDOT have that capacity to cover that? Does the cities cover that or?
On which, who
On
controls?
those
Oh, the signals? That's a city road, so
Yeah.
those signals would be, they'd be city signals.
So,
Hold on,
yep,
that one signal's not even on your property, is it?
no, it's out, it would be on the street. Both of
No,
those.
he's talking Weaver County versus Riverdale.
Could be on
City.
yours.
Yeah,
I'm not
sounds
sure
like
exactly
that
how far
might be
you
a
go
piece of
down.
Property Riverdale ought to seriously consider. Paying attention.
Yeah, very.
I'm not sure it goes that far down, Jim.
So when we talked to UDOT, they said we can widen those bridges to what you need for $7 million. And then now to take a step back here, the issue that we're dealing with as well is the main contributor to traffic problems on here is Riverdale Road and getting left turns in and out of Riverdale Road and 1500 West. And one of the things that we've been working with our traffic engineers to come up with an innovative solution on how to take trips off of Riverdale Road. And with this new frontage road system that they put in down at the base and then bringing it all the way up.
Building right now,
Yeah, we talked about extending that underneath I-15
under Riverdale. Road.
under Riverdale Road and bringing an actual slip road directly into campus. So that northbound trips on I-15 would not be required to get off on Riverdale Road. It's similar
Kind of like
to,
going into Farmington.
yeah, or 106 South, if you come northbound on 106 and you want to go into Southtown Mall, they have a bridge, like a box culvert that goes underneath 106 South. You can go straight in by REI there and drop off. And the issue there is that it would also allow us to get on northbound as well. So with the improvements to the intersection we talked about before, we have an on-ramp now to I-15. It would merge with this lane that goes under Riverdale Road, and they could continue to get on to I-15 northbound.
Right in, right out only is what you're talking about.
Yep. The issue is that on-ramp may extend, and UDOT is doing studies to determine how long this needs to be. It may extend underneath that bridge. And they told us, so to widen it at $7 million, to lengthen it, one single lane is $20 million. So there's a potential here that $27 million would be needed to improve this bridge. Now, we're working to get all angles to get funding for this, and until UDOT comes back with their analysis of if that range, which is that orange line, sorry for not saying that, but that orange line is the new on-ramp to I-15. If it does extend underneath, it could go from $7 to $20 million, $27 million.
You don't need that long of a ramp if you've got an internet car, Tesla.
You can get going fast, and you can get it right there. One stop.
Get out and get going.
So that's the big issue here, is this is an immediate need and what we're trying to discuss funding with. And we actually met last week with Ken Anderson, I believe, who's your kind of equal down in Davis County, Stephanie. And,
Kent.
It's like a combo of me and Sean.
Yeah.
Combo.
And he mentioned that there's a potential that there's a third quarter funds is what he called them, that there might be some money that could be allocated to some type of transportation issue, the items. And that's something we'd like to talk to you about, is if those funds are available, or how we get on the list to access some of those funds if they're available. As we're trying to figure out how to
Are
pay.
you talking about the third quarter or the proposed fourth quarter?
He referenced third quarter funds, and I don't.
Our WACOG process.
And that's what Brooke was referring to when we met last.
If we go to
time,
that next
talking on
quarter,
that
we have to
framework.
pass a resolution. Correct.
Yeah.
Which we haven't done yet. Right.
Yeah, so those are some funds that he said could be available, and we needed to talk to you about it, and that's why one of the impetus for this meeting.
So one other meeting I had last week, cause I met with Senator Adams, President Adams last week, to try to start some legislative movement going on this. We've met with the nuke. That's when we were meeting with Kent, was to talk about the the Northern Utah Chamber Committee and their Transportation Committee getting involved in this to help with some movement up on the hill as well. And we're reaching out to Senator Buxton to see if he can sponsor the bill to try to push this through. Senator Adams' comment was, any help we can get from the local governments is gonna help us sell the bill and push the bill to get this done. Senator Adams is a huge proponent of America First, loves them and wants to support them and will do what he can to help support this. And so, that was one of the reasons we wanted to come talk to you as well, is to see if between all of the different municipalities, we've obviously got Riverdale and Roy and Ogden, everybody else involved, and I want to get the county involved in this as well to see what we can do to help pull all this together and see if we can get UDOT some additional funding to take care of those bridges the way they need to be taken care of.
Jeff, I'm gonna put a pause on you. Commissioner Frohr, why would Senator Adams, who was a former city guy, yeah, I mean, he knows what kind of money cities have and where it goes. Why would he make a statement like that to put it back on local governments? Because those types of projects aren't usually funded by local government.
You want the truth?
I do.
It's passing the buck.
Yeah.
Legislative thing to do.
So here's a guy with
So-
decades of experience with the state legislature.
So.
He's gonna tell you the
I've got to
truth.
run another meeting here shortly, but I guess number one, this is a UDOT project. UDOT state, as you probably already know. You should be talking to the committee chairs. You should be talking to the IGG chair for sure, because I funded UDOT a lot of money. You should be talking to the Transportation Committee. You should be talking to Mike Schultz. You need to get in the room with the people that make the decision, which is the committee chairs. President Adams, bless his heart, goes a long ways back, and not that he's not important, but people like Jerry Stevenson and those committee chairs will be making the determination. So,
Who took
and I don't-
Schultz's, who took Schultz's place, by the way, now that he's the speaker?
Jefferson Moss.
Okay.
And Jefferson's would be a good one to talk to. But all I'm saying is you probably need to get in the room with the people that make the call.
And
And
we
that's,
met with the WFRC. We met with them in this room.
well,
We-
they don't make the decision on funding. What I'm
Yeah.
telling you,
Yeah.
is who's in the right to check? The checks are started at the appropriation level
Mhm.
and then get advanced. The appropriation level, the chair and the committee chair determine about 80% of what gets sent for approval. So if you can make sure that your committee chair and vice chair are on board, then it's not guaranteed, but without their support, you're dead in the water.
Does that go for 4,400 as well? And I 100% agree with you on the
Absolutely.
interstate, but 4,400, isn't that not a city road though? But it's the same. Well, that's UDOT's funding it, right? So it's UDOT.
The bridge portion. UDOT's in charge of the bridges. So
Okay.
Don't
Right away.
involve those bridges.
the road's yours, the bridge will be UDOT's.
I'm gonna address
Gotcha.
your
Okay.
individual infrastructure, your private property infrastructure in just a minute, but Gage is 100% correct on that. And the other element of that is, if it's not a priority one project right
Yeah,
now,
you're
you're not gonna have any success in the legislature this year. You've got to get that bumped up to a priority one before you even go to the legislature.
And Mayor Dandoy, sits as chair, and I sit as vice chair on the other committee with the two big committees with WFRC. I think the two of us can kind of tag team that, and help move that in a positive direction. What that would do, if you're coming to the county for help, what we can do is in those rooms with WFRC,
Yeah.
see what we can do about getting this moved. That's my top note, is getting that moved from a phase 2 to a phase 1.
Yeah.
That's when you start talking those kind of things. If this is a phase 2 and you're coming to us now, you're feeding steak to a 3-month-old baby here. You can't, no matter how much you grind that up, it ain't gonna take. You've gotta get that done first. That's critical. The UDOT, that's the other thing I want, and then the COG, the third quarter. And you're talking about fractions, just small fractions when you're talking this kind of funding. That's why the state does this.
Right.
Mr. Bullis?
I agree.
So-
But, so a couple things that we have, I guess, access to help you. The COG, we can help you. We can help you from a legislative point at some point in time. You guys have got to start the ball rolling. Obviously, the TIF through the RDA, you're talking about that extra space. then we can help you with that RDA. We can look at your existing RDA to see what that may produce.
Mhm.
You know, that's what we could do at the county. But yeah, the UDOT decision will be made by a gentleman by the name of Carlos and then the other committees. So.
Great feedback.
When this first started, with all due respect to Roger, he and Cyril are the ones that came in here when I first learned about this. And my understanding at the time was this was all done. So your call to me last week, the end of last week, was a realization like, holy crap. And we realize and respect the changes that have happened and for whatever reasons. But that was like, oh. So this is great. This is great counsel right here because of all the time he'd spent there.
Definitely.
And that's, well, as soon as you said that about Stuart Adams, that's all great, but that, I think to get Buxton to run it could be a step in the right direction, but I would get, Representative Moss, Jefferson Moss, you've got to get him on board with that. That's all there is to it, but before they'll look at it, even before then, it's got to get moved to a phase one. And I think that's something we could, Bob has the ability to do some magical things down there because of he's very well respected. But there's a lot of needs in Weaver County, this being yet another one, but the overpass on 12th Street from 1900 to Washington Boulevard, everybody stops at BDO, the 84, 89 intersection down there to get people to the top of the hill, that's 700 million. There's a lot of needs up here in Weaver County, so I'm happy to help where I can. And I know we'd have a unanimous, we're happy to help because we love American First Credit Union. We love, so you guys have paid it forward already to do that, so.
And I would say, go ahead and have Buxton run the RFA. Typically, you know, you're not gonna get 5 or 7 million with that appropriation. And, you know, from what I'm hearing down there, they're not gonna have a lot of money in the corners this year. But, you know, you might get 1 million, I don't know, you might luck out and get 1.5 million, depending on, you know, what Buxton can do. But I'd probably, you know, that's not gonna, the RFA, the legislation, you're not gonna get enough to handle, you know, 10% of what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And I don't wanna be the bearer of
More like
bad news, but I tell
five,
you,
if that were it, you know.
there's no reason to blow smoke because that's where it is.
Well, we knew that. Where you own that bridge, we wanted to make sure you guys were aware of what was going on over there.
Yeah.
I'll keep rubbing that one in, but,
No, this is
I
great.
mean, when it affects all these people, and that's why I wanted Roy and Ogden and you guys, obviously.
You know, we just
You know.
resurfaced that bridge at the Weaver County expense. I think it was 4 or 5 years ago. So I don't want to tell you, we're
you
good
let
for another
UDOT know that.
23 years.
You don't know that. We just put that walking bridge in right
That's
there, remember that?
That's a beautiful.
But,
walking
and that
bridge.
concerns us a little bit because if we widen that, what's that gonna do, you know? I mean, this whole thing affects us.
We like them wide, yeah.
So Steve, I'd like to work with your team sooner than later
Okay,
on getting the RDA amended
Yeah.
and getting maybe a new one put into place. But secondly, I'd also like to talk to you personally, you and I one-on-one about public infrastructure districts. That's the second piece of
That's
information that you need to know as a city manager. And we can look at your internal project infrastructure needs and see how we can't get some of that laid in place prior to you getting these external pieces put into place. And I can direct you on how you would have to do it as a city, but you can use our resources to do that. And I'm happy to do consulting with you on that,
that'd be great.
as well as provide you with some other consultants to bring in to do that initial analysis. We work very, very closely with 2 different firms on our public infrastructure districts. So that could be beneficial right now to get you some upfront capital to start going now to lay that infrastructure for your development.
Are you seeing that we, on those PIDs, I hadn't put 2 and 2 together, but I think what I'm hearing you say. But are you saying we could use the RDA tax increment to pay back the PIDs?
Yes.
All right.
And we would.
I've been working on a couple other PIDs that don't have an RDA component tied with them. But now that I'm seeing what you're talking, now I'm seeing a lot of sense in what you're saying over
And I
there.
can give you some really good examples of recent ones that we've done in the county that have been incredibly successful, dealing with large pieces of infrastructure
Yeah.
that were required, that are outside the project area. I mean, outside the, actually, the
That's a
property.
great idea.
You can maybe hash this out anymore. The three of us have a meeting downstairs with all the mayors here in just a moment. Are there any other questions for us? Or do you have anything else for your presentation?
No,
Well, that was it.
I think that covered, no.
Yeah, we
that's some
appreciate
great
your time and
feedback. Some great
certainly your help,
feedback, some guidance, some great ideas.
And what I would suggest you do is, so Stephanie's gonna be working with me down to legislature. Make sure you coordinate with her. We've got a kind of a select group of appropriations requests that we're looking with on, I'm dealing with specific legislators. I'm happy to put that on our list to make sure the people I talk
Kind
to.
of help push that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, but if you coordinate with her, as we go down there, we can knock on a couple of doors that might help you.
And we appreciate the feedback on the timing to do these certain
Yep.
things, the time and everything. Your experience that it's helpful for us.
You need to keep
Yeah.
on, but I'll work with Bob, including on that. I'll work with Bob with the WFRC.
Yeah.
to-
Sean and I were
Get that to
successful in
phase
getting
one.
a phase, was it phase 2 or phase 3? Can't remember.
It was phase 2.
Phase 2, we were successful in getting a phase 2 bumped
That's
into a
right.
phase 1 before the legislative session last year. And, we actually I found out today from our UDOT correspondent, we actually got that partially funded and I didn't know that.
Really?
Yeah, so, and they're going back this session and the next to get it fully funded.
Oh, so
So
maybe,
it's a process, but
Sure.
you have to start at the right spot.
Sean, let's do that. Let's put that as a priority for us then too, okay, to get that help with that.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for your time.
Thank
This
you
has been very helpful.
Thanks, gentlemen.
I've got a
Before we
feeling
leave,
down
let
there
me tell
too.
you a story
Mayor
about
Mitchell
it.
can't
Oh, you got a Hanson story. You got a Hanson story?
Yeah, I'll live with this week.